Chapter 1769. Chapter 1769 Enlightenment in the Abyss. Chapter 1769 Enlightenment in the Abyss. Boom! The chaotic body struck out with its palm. The chaotic laws circulated and formed a huge chaotic hand that grabbed at Lu Ming and the other three. The terrifying pressure made people's expressions change. Without a doubt, the chaotic body was at the absolute saint level. And it was the chaotic body. Just how terrifying was its battle prowess? It was hard to imagine. He was undefeatable. At this moment, such a sentence appeared in Lu Ming's mind. If he tried to block it head-on, only death would await him. Retreat! Lu Ming roared. The four of them retreated frantically to avoid the power of the palm. Can you escape? The chaotic body said coldly. With a flash, he appeared behind Lu Ming and threw a punch. It was as fast as lightning. So fast that Lu Ming could not block it. The difference in their cultivation levels was too great. Lu Ming! Huang Ling exclaimed. Long Chun and Bubbles were also extremely anxious. However, the difference in their cultivation base was too great. Even if they wanted to help, it would be of no use. Boom! The fist of the chaotic body pierced through Lu Ming's body. However, Lu Ming was completely fine. Lu Ming's body was like a shadow. The chaotic Buddha's fist seemed to have struck the air. What's going on? The chaotic body roared and threw another punch. However, it still hit the air. Lu Ming's body seemed to be a phantom. In this place, you cannot fight each other. The white-robed old man in the sky said. So that was how it was. Many people's hearts skipped a beat. They couldn't make a move here, as they couldn't attack each other at all. Huang Ling and Long Chun heaved a long sigh of relief. Just now, they really thought that Lu Ming was going to be killed by the other party. The chaotic body retreated with a cold and ugly expression. You're lucky, but you'll die in my hands sooner or later. The chaotic body coldly said. You're just relying on your higher cultivation. In the future, it'll definitely kill you. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Between him and the chaotic body, only one of them could live. If they met in the future, there would definitely be a bitter battle without any room for negotiation. He's just a fake son of chaos. He'll never be my match in his entire life. The chaotic body spoke with great pride. He had the right to be proud. He had the chaotic body, and was the true son of chaos. He was blessed by the heavens and had a strong fate. As long as he cultivated to the half-saint realm, he would naturally be able to master the chaotic laws. What was Lu Ming? He had only become a monk halfway through his life, and did not possess the chaotic body. Even if he could control the laws of chaos, how could he compare to him? Lu Ming did not say anything else. There was no point in saying anything now. In the future, Lu Ming would use his actions to tell the world who the real son of chaos was. As they continued to wait, more and more people arrived. Not long after, there were more than 2,000 people near the abyss. There had been more than 3,000 people before, but now there were more than 2,000 left. Some were killed, while others were sent back. At this time, the white-robed old man waved his hand, and a row of stone platforms appeared on the edge of the abyss, floating in the air. There were more than 2,000 of them, almost the same number as them, and they were all lined up in a row. The method to cross the abyss is very simple. Each of you will choose a stone platform and sit on it. Then I will give you a lecture. You will comprehend, and as you comprehend, the stone platform will float forward. The faster you comprehend, the faster the stone platform will float forward. In the end, only the top 100 can continue with the next test. As for the others, I will send you back. The white-robed old man explained the rules. What? Only the top 100 can continue? Someone exclaimed. This ratio was really too low. One had to know that those who could come here were all geniuses among geniuses. They were not ordinary cultivators. It was easier said than done to stand out among these people. Everyone also understood that this test was not about combat power, but comprehension. After all, the geniuses here were all different in age, background, and cultivation. There was no point in competing in battle prowess. It was a competition of potential. Perception was a part of one's potential. I'll definitely have a share in the top 100. I will definitely enter the top 100. Some of the young men were very confident that they would be able to enter the top 100. All right, You can go up and pick any stone platform you like. Every stone platform is the same. The white-robed old man said. Buzz, buzz, and MBSB whoosh. Immediately, someone flew up and landed on a stone platform. Lu Ming and the other three also stepped forward. They each chose a stone platform and sat cross-legged. The stone platform was very small and could only accommodate one person. Looking out of the stone platform, there was a dark abyss below, and no one knew how deep it was. Very quickly, the 2,000 people had all landed on the stone platform. All right, I'll start my lecture now, the white-robed old man said. The next moment, his body bloomed with brilliant light, and divine rings surrounded him. Then, the white-robed old man opened his mouth and said each word. Each word was extremely profound, and turned into the sound of the great Tao, entering everyone's ears. Hearing this sound, Lu Ming's heart and soul seemed to calm down. He fell into an ethereal state, and the sound of the great Tao kept coming into his ears. The white-robed old man was not talking about any Tao or law. He was talking about the truth of heaven and earth, the truth of martial arts, and the truth of the heavenly Tao. This kind of truth could conform to any law, and it depended purely on one's comprehension ability. In Lu Ming's mind, he seemed to have seen the experience of a peerless powerhouse. From the fragile youth, he conquered step by step, and finally rose to the top of the world, becoming a top powerhouse. In his mind, the apparition of the chaos Tharch became even more mysterious. The laws of chaos circulated, and Lu Ming's understanding became clearer and clearer. In his elixir field, the two saint hearts were beating like real hearts. Vigorous saint power gushed out of the saint hearts and poured into the meridians of his body. Lu Ming had completely forgotten about everything in the outside world. He had forgotten his purpose for coming and the time. He only had one goal, which was to cultivate and comprehend. As the crowd comprehended, the stone platforms began to fly forward. For the first 3 days, everyone rode side by side, and there was not much difference between them. However, from the 3rd day onwards, the gap began to show. Some people started to fall behind, while others were getting faster and faster, surpassing the others. As time passed, the gap between them grew bigger and bigger. However, Lu Ming, Bubbles, Feng Ling, and Long Chun were still in the top 100. Bubbles was a true space-time spirit mouse. There was no need to mention her comprehension ability. If she were to fully mature, she would be at the peak of the world, and not many people would be able to match her. As for Huang Ling and Long Chun, they had both awakened the bloodlines of the top 10 war beasts. Needless to say, their comprehension abilities were also extremely terrifying. As for Lu Ming, there was no need to mention him. As time passed, Lu Ming's speed became faster and faster. He slowly surpassed Long Chun, Feng Ling, and the others as he moved forward. Chapter 1770. Chapter 1770, the first to reach the shore. Chapter 1770, the first to reach the shore, as everyone was comprehending and cultivating, endless origin energy of heaven and earth surged into their bodies. Everyone's aura was rising rapidly. Of course, the faster the speed, the more benefits the person at the front would get. Half a month later, the aura on Lu Ming's body swelled. He had broken through to the next realm. Lu Ming was originally a perfected bright saint. Now he had broken through to the peak of the bright saint realm. It had only been half a month, and Lu Ming's cultivation had broken through. The speed was shocking. At this moment, there were only a few people who could travel together with Lu Ming. The prodigy of the Thunder Clan with the chaotic body, and the prodigy with the death law. There were a few other heaven's favorites who were also very terrifying. They were at the forefront with Lu Ming and the others. Time passed day by day. A month later, Lu Ming's speed increased again, and he surpassed the others in one fell swoop, taking the lead. Of course, none of them knew about this. Everyone was fully focused on comprehending and cultivating. Ever since Lu Ming was in the lead, he had not been overtaken. Furthermore, the gap between him and the people behind him was slowly widening. 1.5 months after they cultivated and comprehended, Lu Ming's cultivation had another breakthrough, and he had entered the great circle of the Bright Saint stage. In a short 1.5 months, Lu Ming's cultivation had advanced by 2 levels. The effect was shocking. As a human, This was related to Lu Ming's low cultivation level. The lower one's cultivation was, the faster one would break through. The higher one's cultivation was, the more difficult it would be to break through. It would be much more difficult to break through to the Supreme Saint realm, or even the Absolute Saint realm, than a Bright Saint. If Lu Ming's cultivation base was at the Great Saint or the Absolute Saint realm, it would not be so easy to break through. Lu Ming's stone platform was getting closer and closer to the other side of the abyss. After another half a month, Lu Ming's stone platform finally reached the other side of the abyss. At this moment, the sound of the great Tao in the sky disappeared completely. Wake up! The white-robed elder's voice was like a morning bell that rang in everyone's hearts. Everyone woke up from their state of enlightenment. Has it ended? Someone murmured, somewhat reluctant to leave. In that state of enlightenment it was too good. Not only the laws, but also the cultivation of the martial path were advancing by leaps and bounds. It was comparable to years of bitter cultivation. My cultivation base has broken through. I've also made a breakthrough in my nomological laws. Excited voices could be heard. Everyone was the same. The first thing they felt when they woke up was the change in their bodies. My cultivation has reached the great circle of the Bright Saint stage. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Moreover, he was not far from the Great Saint realm. And in BSB, the Chaos Tribulation Finger has also reached 50% completion. What made Lu Ming even more delighted was that the Chaos Finger of Tribulation had also improved by leaps and bounds. It had reached 50% completion. The higher one's cultivation level was, the harder it would be to cultivate a sacred art, and the time it would take would also increase exponentially. To be able to go from 40% to 50% was already very fast. Moreover, he cultivated the laws of chaos. After sensing the changes in his body, Lu Ming looked at the others. What? He found that his platform was in the first place, and behind it was the child of death, the chaotic body. Behind them were a few others, followed by Long Chun, Feng Ling and Bubbles. While Lu Ming was sizing up the others were also sizing up the others. However, almost at the same time, everyone looked at Lu Ming. It was because Lu Ming was far ahead, and had reached the other side. He was too eye-catching. It's him, the son of chaos. He's actually in the lead, surpassing the chaotic body and the son of death. How shocking. I didn't expect him to get first place. I'm finished. In below the 100th place, above the abyss, a series of voices rang out. Everyone's ranking was clear at a glance. Many people found themselves below the 100th place, and couldn't help but sigh. There were even people who realized that their rankings were at the bottom, and their expressions became even uglier. If he was ranked last, didn't that mean that his comprehension and potential were the worst? Brother Lu Ming, you're so amazing. Chirp chirp. Bubbles cried out in excitement, almost dancing with joy. Lu Ming smiled faintly, and looked at the chaotic body, only to see that his gaze was as sharp as a sword and extremely cold. Now, who is more qualified to master the laws of chaos? Lu Ming said indifferently. The chaotic Buddha's face darkened even more when he heard this. Previously, he had repeatedly said that Lu Ming was not qualified to master the laws of chaos, and that he was the only one in the world who could master the laws of chaos. He was so arrogant and insufferably arrogant. But now he was being suppressed by Lu Ming. Lu Ming led the group, and was the first to reach the other side. Lu Ming was not qualified. Who was? It's just a competition of comprehension. It doesn't mean anything. Moreover, the time is short. If we continue to compete, it'll definitely surpass you. The chaotic body coldly said. A loss is a loss, but you're lying to yourself here. Lu Ming sneered in disdain. The chaotic Buddha's eyes glowed even more sharply, as if his gaze was going to turn into a sharp sword that could pierce through Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming was not afraid at all. He looked straight at him and confronted him head-on. The son of death did not say anything. He only looked at Lu Ming curiously. Pass the test. Your gains will be equally huge. Go. Alright, now the top 100 have come out. I'll send you back for those below the 100th. The white-robed old man said. Many people sighed, feeling somewhat unwilling. The white-robed old man waved his hand, and a large number of light pillars appeared, enveloping the figures. Then, The figures disappeared in the light pillars. There were only 100 people left. The stone platforms that had not reached the other side also flew forward and leaned on the other side. All right, you guys can continue moving forward. There's still a test waiting for you ahead. If you can pass the test, your gains will be equally huge. Go. The white-robed old man's voice rang out, and then his figure disappeared. Everyone flew up and set foot on the other side of the abyss. The chaotic body exuded a powerful aura. He looked at Lu Ming with an extremely cold gaze. If he could make a move here, he would not hesitate to kill Lu Ming. Lu Ming also looked at the other party coldly. With a sneer, the chaotic body rose into the air and flew forward. The others did the same, flying forward one after another. Not long after, a towering mountain appeared in front of them. On the mountain, there was an extremely huge palace. As the group got closer, they discovered that there was a huge stone tablet at the foot of the mountain. On the stone tablet, there were 3 big words: Hunyuan Sect. Everyone's hearts turned solemn. They had arrived at Hunyuan Sect. Behind the stone tablet, there was a flight of stairs that stretched on for an unknown length. No one knew how many steps there were. At this moment, the white-robed old man appeared again and said, "This is the main gate of the Hunyuan Sect. If you want to go up, you must go up the stairs step by step. This is a sign of respect for the Hunyuan Sect. If anyone disrespects you, I will send him back. You can go up," the white-robed old man said. Chapter 1771. Chapter 1771 A Fair Battle. Chapter 1771 A Fair Battle. As soon as the white-robed old man finished speaking, he disappeared. The group stepped forward and stepped onto the stairs. Lu Ming and the other 3 followed suit. There was nothing unusual about the stairs. It was just like any other ordinary stairs. To everyone it was like flat ground. If they used their movement techniques, they would be able to reach the top in a few steps. However, everyone remembered the words of the white-robed old man. They had to go up step by step, or they would be eliminated. Lu Ming and the rest walked up the stairs at a steady pace. However, this flight of stairs was really very high. There were at least more than 100,000 of them. They had been walking for a few hours and had only crossed a small section. Why do I need to take these ordinary steps one by one? At this time, a young man snorted coldly, appearing to be a little impatient. Then, he took a step forward and crossed over 10,000 steps in an instant, leading far ahead of the others. "You idiots, crawl slowly. This young master will take a step first." The young man's face was filled with joy, and he looked at the others with disdain. Then, he took another step and crossed over 10,000 steps. But this time, before he could celebrate, a pillar of light suddenly appeared and enveloped him. "Don't!" the man shouted. The next moment, his figure disappeared as he was teleported out. "You think you're smart, but you're clearly the fool," someone sneered. Following that, everyone naturally didn't dare to copy that young man. They all climbed up step by step. An ordinary person might not even be able to finish climbing the 100,000 steps in half a month. However, it wasn't too difficult for them. After a little more than a day, they had reached the top of the mountain. At the top of the mountain, there were many majestic palaces. It was difficult to see the end of them. They appeared on a vast land, and in front of them was the door of a palace. At this time the door was open. Everyone muttered to themselves for a moment before they stepped into the palace. They followed a passageway and finally arrived at a strange place. The first thing that came into view was a few hundred stone pillars. On top of the stone pillars, there was a strange fluctuation. In front of the stone pillar, there was a huge fighting ring. At this moment, the white-robed old man appeared again. "Didn't you all want to fight? Now I'll give you a chance to fight." The white-robed old man's voice rang out. His words made many people's eyes burst out with a bright light. The chaotic body in particular looked at Lu Ming with an extremely cold gaze and a sinister smile. "Now let's see how you die," the chaotic body muttered. However, Lu Ming's expression was calm. He didn't believe that they could just fight directly without any restrictions. If that was the case, then those with weaker cultivation bases wouldn't even need to compete, and could just go back. No one in the Bright Saint realm could fight a saint. Not to mention that the opponent was a rare genius. As expected, the white-robed old man's voice sounded again. However, this battle needs to be fair. I will seal your true essence and seal your cultivation at the initial Bright Saint realm. You will use the secret skill on the stone pillar to fight. Furthermore, the strength of your saint power will be the same. In addition, I'll seal all your laws, divine powers, martial techniques, and spirit bodies so that all of you will be at the same level. Many people's faces changed. According to the white-robed old man, almost all of his methods were sealed, and the saint power was the same. How could they compete? Do you guys see those stone pillars? There is a secret skill on each stone pillar. Later, you can choose a stone pillar and comprehend the secret skill on it. I will give you half a month. After half a month, you will use the secret skill on the stone pillar to fight. The white-robed man continued to explain. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. As expected, this was the fairest way. Everyone would be sealed at the same level, and they would have to rely on the secret skill that they had learned from the stone pillar to fight the enemy. The harvest of this half a month directly determined one's combat strength. Buzz! At this moment, the white-robed old man's body emitted a strange fluctuation. Then a wave of power surged into everyone's body. This power was high and mighty, and they could not resist it. It sealed everything about them. My saint energy is really only left with the saint energy of a lower-tier bright saint. Also, I can't use laws. I can't use divine powers or martial techniques. My spiritual body is only equivalent to a low-tier heaven spiritual body. Voices rang out one after another. Everyone realized that they had really been sealed. Other than the saint power of a lower-tier bright saint, they could not use anything else. Only one of my saint hearts can work. Lu Ming was secretly shocked. This white-robed old man was definitely an unimaginable existence. Although it was only a projection, it was hard to predict his means. Then, the old man waved his hand, and all kinds of auras burst out from the stone pillars. There was a soaring sword intent, a bright blade light, the aura of a fist technique, the aura of a palm technique. There were all kinds of them. Everyone's eyes lit up. In such a competition, it was very particular what kind of secret skill to choose. By choosing a secret skill that he was familiar with, he would naturally be able to comprehend it faster. Only then would he be able to gain the upper hand in the battle half a month later. This battle would mainly test two aspects. The first aspect was naturally the comprehension he had gained in the past half a month. The second aspect was the individual's battle awareness. The stronger one's battle awareness was, the more likely one would be able to win against someone of the same cultivation level. Don't worry, you can comprehend it up there. No one will disturb you, the white-robed old man added, telling everyone to relax and not worry about being attacked by others in the process of comprehending. Buzz! A young man leaped onto a stone platform that was filled with sword intent and sat down cross-legged. That stone platform is mine. Then, another person jumped onto a stone platform that was filled with the aura of a saber technique. Of course, there was more than one stone platform that was filled with sword intent or saber aura. Some of them were repeated. Lu Ming and the other three leaped onto the stone platform one after another in search of suitable secret skills. Lu Ming leaped onto a stone platform that was filled with a terrifying spear's consciousness. Since he started cultivating, he had spent the longest time cultivating the spear and had the deepest understanding of the spear. He would benefit the most if he chose a stone platform filled with the spear's consciousness. Lu Ming sat down cross-legged immediately. The stone platform glowed, and a light screen enveloped him. No one could disturb him. It was the coiling dragon spear. After Lu Ming closed his eyes, a voice rang in his mind. Then his surroundings changed. Lu Ming seemed to have arrived at a vast land. In the sky, there was a figure dancing. The long spear in his hand danced like a real dragon. Lu Ming began to read it carefully. An hour later, Lu Ming seemed to have made some progress. He condensed a long spear in his hand and began to practice. And NBSB hoo-hoo. The long spear was brandished like a real dragon circling around. The strong wind whistled, and the power was astonishing. After cultivating for a while, Lu Ming stopped and continued to observe the figure in the sky. Just like that, Lu Ming immersed himself in a deep level of cultivation. Time passed quickly and Lu Ming's understanding of the coiling dragon spear became deeper and deeper. Chapter 1772. Chapter 1772. Suppressing the chaotic body. Chapter 1772. Suppressing the chaotic body. Half a month's time passed in the blink of an eye, and the figure dancing with the spear in the sky disappeared. "Wake up!" A voice entered Lu Ming's ears. He trembled and retreated from the vast land, opening his eyes. Everyone stopped their cultivation. Half a month has passed. Now the duels will begin. The duels are very simple. The 100 of you will step onto the battle platform at the same time and begin a chaotic battle. Those who fall off the platform or are killed will be eliminated. The last 20 people standing on the fighting ring will advance. The white-robed old man announced the rules. Many people's eyes flickered. Out of 100 people, only 20 would advance. Moreover, it would be a chaotic battle. This was much more complicated. "Now let's begin," the white-robed old man announced. Buzz, buzz, and MBSB whoosh. One figure after another rushed up the fighting ring. The fighting stage was very large. It was spacious even with 100 people. The 100 of them stood on their own and looked around cautiously. This was a chaotic battle, and it could be said that everyone was an enemy. For a moment, no one made a move. The best choice now was to wait for others to fight while they reserved their strength and reap the benefits. The atmosphere became a little heavy. The white-robed old man wasn't in a hurry and just watched quietly. Bang! The chaotic body glared at Lu Ming, its cold killing intent undisguisable. "Brat, I'll kill you now." The chaotic body walked toward Lu Ming. "You're the one who's going to die." Lu Ming's eyes burned with a strong desire to fight. Saint power surged in his hand and condensed into a long spear. He stepped forward and walked towards the chaotic body. Lu Ming was not afraid of anyone at the same level. Boom! Before Lu Ming and the chaotic body could fight, a huge battle had already broken out on the other side. The child of death, even if everything was suppressed, was still incomparably powerful. He attacked first, completely suppressing a Heaven's Pride expert. In just a few moves, the Heaven's Pride expert coughed up blood and was blasted off the fighting stage. After being thrown off the fighting ring, the young man was enveloped by a pillar of light and left. This made many people's gazes turn grave. It was obvious that the child of death's comprehension was shocking. In just half a month, he had cultivated a secret technique to an extremely high level. Furthermore, the son of death's battle sense was shocking, and he completely crushed that heaven's favorite. The child of death's attack broke the stalemate, and the others also made their moves. A chaotic battle broke out at this moment. Some of them charged at Longchen, Phoenix Spirit, and Bubbles. Mountain suppressing fist kill. At that moment, the son of chaos arrived in front of Lu Ming and threw a punch. His fist force exploded and formed a mountain that pressed down on Lu Ming. This was a secret skill that the son of chaos had comprehended in the past half a month. It was a fist technique that could form a mountain to suppress a powerful enemy with an astonishing aura and incomparably overbearing. Roar! With a dragon's roar, Lu Ming pierced through the mountain with the spear in his hand. The spear instantly transformed into a true dragon and pounced forward. The dragon's claws stepped in the air and bombarded the mountain. Boom! With a terrifying explosion, the true dragon and the mountain exploded. The terrifying force spread in all directions, making the expressions of the people around them very serious. What a powerful force! On the side, many people were amazed. Lu Ming had just exchanged a blow with the chaotic body, and its power had already surpassed many people. Kill! The chaotic body roared. Its presence was like a rainbow, and it was overbearing. It threw out 2 consecutive punches with an unstoppable force. Boom! 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 The sky was boiling and mountains were formed, pressing down on Lu Ming. And MBSB whoosh! The long spear in Lu Ming's hands trembled and turned into rays of spear radiance that burst out. The spear radiance formed true dragons in the air that roared and charged, colliding with the mountain continuously. The terrifying energy spread out in all directions. In the area where the two were fighting, the others hurriedly retreated, afraid of being implicated. The two of them were destined enemies, and a life-and-death battle was inevitable. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had already exchanged hundreds of moves. The chaotic body was truly terrifying. In just half a month, he had cultivated a secret technique to an extremely profound level. His battle sense was also extremely strong, and every move was terrifyingly powerful. Even people of the same level would not be able to block a few moves. The more they fought, the more intense it became. Up until now, the two of them had almost turned into two afterimages, constantly colliding with each other on the fighting ring. Lu Ming's eyes were sparkling and dazzling. The long spear in his hand was constantly thrust out. The more he fought, the deeper his understanding of the coiling dragon spear became. At this time, he was already slowly starting to gain the upper hand. The son of chaos howled and fought with all his might. However, he could not change this. He was beginning to be suppressed by Lu Ming. He couldn't accept this, and his expression was extremely ugly. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The long spear in Lu Ming's hands seemed to have turned into a stream of light. It was getting faster and faster, and its power was getting stronger and stronger. Often, with a sweep of the spear, it could break his moves. A spear thrust out, aimed directly at his vital point, forcing him to dodge. The body of the chaotic body began to retreat toward the edge of the stage. The chaotic body is about to lose. Many people saw it from the corner of their eyes and were shocked. The chaotic body was actually no match for someone of the same level. Of course, this so-called battle of equals was not really a battle of equals. For example, the advantages of the chaotic body could not be displayed. However, it was enough to show how terrifying Lu Ming was. He did not have the chaotic body, but he was able to comprehend the laws of chaos. His comprehension was truly astonishing. Many people had this thought. So that's all the chaotic body can do. You only know how to use your higher cultivation to suppress others. In a battle of the same level, what do you think you are? Lu Ming's mocking voice rang out, causing the chaotic Buddha's face to turn even gloomier. In a moment of carelessness, he was swept by Lu Ming's spear, and a wound appeared on his body, blood flowing out. Gradually, the chaotic body retreated to the edge of the stage. If it retreated any further, it would fall off. Everyone, let's join forces and blast this Lu Ming down. This person was ranked first when he crossed the abyss before. His comprehension is amazing. If this continues, I'm afraid no one can compare to him. At this moment, the chaotic body roared. He actually wanted to ask the others to join forces with him. For this, he even said that Lu Ming's comprehension was amazing. Previously, he was high and mighty and thought that he was the real son of chaos. He looked down on Lu Ming, but now, he was praising Lu Ming. This made him feel extremely humiliated. However, in order to defeat and eliminate Lu Ming, he could only do so. Instantly, the eyes of a few powerful heaven's favorites lit up. Indeed, although Lu Ming's cultivation level was not high, his potential was shocking. When they crossed the abyss, he was ranked first, which caught the attention of many geniuses. Now he was suppressing the chaotic body in a battle of the same level. If this continued, he would truly be invincible. These paragons had all come for the Hunyuan sect's inheritance. Naturally, they all wanted to be number one and did not want to be suppressed. Buzz! A young man in a white robe forced his opponent to retreat with one move and charged toward Lu Ming. This person was a terrifying heaven's favorite. When they crossed the abyss, he was already at the top. Chapter 1773. Chapter 1773 Outside World Kill You. Chapter 1773 Outside World Kill You. The white-robed young man's speed was shocking. He was as fast as lightning. In an instant, he had rushed towards Lu Ming. A snow-white sword light bloomed from his hand and enveloped Lu Ming. This person was very strong. Lu Ming had to be cautious. His long spear trembled and turned into a spear radiance, which he stabbed out. Ding! 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 A series of clashing sounds rang out. The white-robed young man's figure retreated slightly and was blocked by Lu Ming. However, this gave the chaotic body a chance to catch its breath. With a loud roar, it threw out a barrage of punches at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's long spear swept across and blocked the attack. However, on the other side, the white-robed young man was charging toward Lu Ming again. Despicable! Not far away, Huang Ling shouted, her eyes wide open. The chaotic body was really despicable. He had been acting all high and mighty before, but now that he was no match for Lu Ming, he had to find someone else to help. Previously, Huang Ling had cultivated a palm technique. When she struck out with her palm technique, it produced a terrifying flame that forced her opponent to retreat. Huang Ling attacked with all her might. Her palm force was overwhelming and unstoppable, not giving her opponent any chance to breathe. On the other side, Long Chun had also completely suppressed his opponent. He cultivated a fist technique, and each of his punches was as powerful as a mountain. It was unstoppable, and its power was not much weaker than the chaotic body. His opponent was also forced to retreat. Scoundrel, get down. I'm going to help brother Lu Ming. Chirpy. Bubble's speed was extremely shocking. Like a flash of light, she circled around a young Heaven's Pride expert. With a flick of her white and tender finger, terrifying wind blades continuously shot towards the other party. The other party was in an extremely sorry state, as he was injured in many places and bleeding profusely. This young man simply wanted to raise his head and roar at the sky. He was extremely aggrieved. He was a Heaven's favorite, and was usually high and mighty. Wherever he went, he would be the center of attention. But now, he was forced into such a state by a 2- or 3-year-old little girl. It was really embarrassing. Not long after, he was struck by Bubble's wind blade. He spat out a large mouthful of blood, and was blasted off the fighting ring. Brother Lu Ming, let me help you. You're courting death. Pow Pow cried out. In a flash, she charged towards Lu Ming. With a flick of her finger, wind blades flew out and blocked the white-robed youth's attack. The white-robed young man's face turned cold as his sword radiance burst forth, and a dense amount of sword chi slashed towards Pow Pow. Bubbles flicked his fingers continuously, forming countless wind blades to resist the opponent. When the white-robed young man had crossed the abyss, he had been in the same category as Bubbles. His talent might not have been stronger than Bubbles, so he could only end up in a draw with her. Get down! With one less opponent, Lu Ming focused all his energy on the chaotic body. He swept his long spear and directly broke the opponent's attack, almost sending the chaotic body flying. Buzz! And MBSB whoosh! Then, Lu Ming launched a storm of attacks at the chaotic body. The terrifying spear shadows completely drowned the other party. Bang! After a few moves, the chaotic body was swept by Lu Ming's spear. He spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated a few steps, almost falling off the fighting ring. Kill! Kill! At this moment, 2 more shouts were heard. 2 paragons rushed toward Lu Ming, and their terrifying attacks fell on him. Clearly, they wanted to team up and defeat Lu Ming first. However, at this moment 2 figures appeared in the sky and blocked the 2 people. It was Huang Ling and Long Chun. They had also defeated their opponents, and had come to help Lu Ming. No one can help you. Get down. Lu Ming took advantage of the situation and attacked fiercely. Although his chaotic body tried its best to block, after more than 10 moves, he was swept by Lu Ming's spear. The sound of bones breaking came from his body, and he was sent flying out of the fighting ring. Lu Ming is outside. Don't let me see you. Otherwise, it'll make you wish you were dead. The chaotic body roared furiously. It was filled with unwillingness. He had the mighty chaotic body, yet he had been eliminated before reaching the end, and the one who had eliminated him had been his fated enemy. I'll kill you in the outside world. Lu Ming's reply was very simple. A pillar of light formed and enveloped the chaotic body. He was sent out under his unwilling gaze. He felt extremely aggrieved. He had a powerful cultivation and terrifying combat strength, but he could not unleash them at all. Under such circumstances, he was defeated by Lu Ming. If he could unleash his full power, he could kill Lu Ming with one slap. Many people were shocked. The high and mighty chaotic body, known as one of the sons of God, was defeated by Lu Ming just like that. Although this kind of defeat completely suppressed some divine powers and spirit bodies, it was enough to explain many things. Although Lu Ming did not have the true chaotic body, it was still unknown who would win in this fated battle about the laws of chaos. Retreat! The white-robed youth was shocked when he saw the chaotic body being knocked off the stage. He quickly retreated. It's too late to retreat now. Lu Ming's cold voice was heard. He took a few steps forward and blocked the other party's retreat. The spear's gleam burst out. Lu Ming and Bubbles joined forces, and the other party could not resist them at all. Within a few moves, he was severely injured and blasted off the fighting ring. Following that, Lu Ming and Bubbles turned to look at the other two people, the two who were fighting with Feng Ling and Long Chen. The four of them joined forces, and the result was already decided. The two of them were also knocked off the fighting ring. One after another, more than 50 people had been eliminated. There were less than 50 people left in the fighting ring. Many people looked at Lu Ming's group of four with unsightly expressions. If the four of them joined forces, no one would be able to defeat them. However, Lu Ming's group of four did not join the battle. They stood together and watched the others fight calmly. As for the others, no one dared to provoke Lu Ming and the rest. The great battle continued, and people were constantly being eliminated. In the blink of an eye, a few hours had passed. When a tall and burly young man was blasted off the fighting ring, there were only 20 people left. The 20 people stood in different directions watching the others. The Son of Death was also among them, and with his battle power, as long as he wasn't surrounded by many people, it wouldn't be difficult for him to stay until the end. Alright, the 20 of you have advanced. There's still one last round. If you can pass it, you'll be able to obtain your fortune, the white-robed old man said. With a wave of his hand, a bridge was formed, extending from the fighting stage to the front. There a door of light was formed. Everyone stepped out, followed the bridge, and entered the door of light. When Lu Ming stepped into the door of light, he felt that the world was spinning. His vision turned black, and his consciousness fell into a blur. Lu Ming did not know how long had passed before he regained consciousness. It hurts, it hurts. The first thing Lu Ming felt when he woke up was pain. It was as if all the bones in his body had been broken. There was a tearing pain all over his body. Lu Ming opened his eyes with great difficulty, and saw a petite and cute face looking at him with her big eyes. It was a very cute young girl. She was 13 or 14 years old, and was dressed in coarse clothes. She sized Lu Ming up curiously. Seeing that Lu Ming had opened his eyes, the young girl's face lit up and she exclaimed, he's awake, Big Brother is awake." As he shouted, he turned around and ran out. Chapter 1774. Chapter 1770 for the final assessment. Chapter 1770 for the final assessment. After the young girl ran out, Lu Ming then looked around. This was a stone house. The walls were made of stone. Other than a bed and a table, there was nothing else in the room. It was very simple. Where am I? Lu Ming was puzzled. He remembered that he was undergoing an assessment in the Hunyuan sect. In the end, he had passed through a light door and lost consciousness. Why was he here after he woke up? Could this be the last test? But what was the test about? Lu Ming sized himself up. He was even more speechless when he saw that he was covered in bandages. He was sure that he was injured, and it was a very serious injury. All the bones in his body were broken, and his muscles were also seriously injured. Waves of sharp pain were constantly coming from him. Moreover, Lu Ming realized that there was not a single trace of holy power in his body. He could not lift it, let alone control the laws. He was now just an ordinary person who was seriously injured. Is this really the last test? Lu Ming was rather speechless. At this moment, footsteps were heard and a few people walked in. It was a burly middle-aged man. His exposed arms were thick and covered in scars. Beside the man was a middle-aged woman. Behind the two of them was the cute girl from before. Little brother, you're finally awake. You've been unconscious for 3 days and 3 nights. The middle-aged man said in a deep voice. 3 days and 3 nights? Lu Ming was even more puzzled. Why did he not have any impression of it? Big brother, what happened to me? How could he be so heavily injured? Since he wasn't clear, he might be able to find some clues if he clarified the matter. My father was hunting in the Beast God Mountain Range and found you. You were already unconscious at that time. You must have been attacked by a beast. You are really bold to go to the Beast God Mountain Range alone. Before the middle-aged man could speak, The young girl spoke first. Beast God Mountain Range, make such arrangements. Little brother, you can rest in peace. Your injuries are too serious. Lu Ming was puzzled. He did not have any impression of this. Perhaps this was arranged by the white-robed old man. Perhaps this was just an illusion. This should be the last test. But what was the test? Lu Ming was very puzzled. He did not understand why they had to make such arrangements. Little brother, you can rest in peace. Your injuries are too serious. It will take a long time for you to fully recover. If you need anything in the future, just let me know. The middle-aged man said in a straightforward and magnanimous manner. Thank you, big brother. I'll never forget the kindness of saving my life. Lu Ming wanted to cup his fists, but the moment he moved his hand, it pulled at his wound. There was a tearing pain that made him gasp. Little brother, don't move and just focus on recuperating. The middle-aged man smiled. After that, the middle-aged man and the middle-aged woman left the place. The young girl brought a bowl of medicine from outside and fed it to Lu Ming. What's your name? Lu Ming asked. I'm Xiahua. My father's name is Xiahu. Big brother, what's your name? Xiahua blinked her eyes and looked at Lu Ming. She was still very curious as to why Lu Ming went to the Beast God Mountain Range alone. That was an extremely dangerous place. My name is Lu Ming. Lu Ming said. Lu Ming? I'll call you Big Brother Lu. I'll call you separately from my father. I don't want to call you uncle. You don't look very old. Xiahua mumbled. It's fine. Lu Ming smiled. Lu Ming stayed there to recuperate. As the days passed, Lu Ming's injuries slowly improved. Half a month later, Lu Ming could already get out of bed and walk. In front of the stone house, Lu Ming leaned against the wall and surveyed his surroundings. There were many stone houses in this area. Lu Ming understood that this was a tribe. There were not many people in this tribe. There were about 1,000 of them. They were very simple and made a living by hunting. Lu Ming had the illusion that he had returned to the ancient times. To Lu Ming's surprise, the people in the tribe were all very powerful. The power of an adult man was not weaker than a first-level martial emperor. Some were even stronger and had reached the saint realm, such as Xiahua's father Xiahu. In the tribe, there was a hunting team that often went out to hunt. The last time, Lu Ming was discovered by the hunting team on the Beast God Mountain. In the beginning, Lu Ming had tried his best to find out about this place. He wanted to speculate what his assessment would be. However, as the days passed, Lu Ming seemed to have integrated into the tribe and almost forgot about the assessment. Little brother Lu, get up. I'll give you this jug of wine. I brewed it with 18 kinds of herbs. It's very nourishing and will help you recover. A white-haired old man came to Lu Ming with a pot of wine and smiled. Many thanks, Uncle Li. Lu Ming took it and thanked him with a smile. Haha, you're welcome. You have to recover soon. The old man laughed and left. Then, there were people from the tribe who brought Lu Ming the meat of ferocious beasts to nourish his body. And MBSB, the people of the tribe were simple and honest, so such things happened all the time. Lu Ming gradually integrated into the tribe. In the blink of an eye, another half a month had passed. Lu Ming's injuries were already 70 to 80% healed. At this moment, a trace of saint energy finally appeared in his body. Lu Ming was overjoyed. With the recovery of his holy power, he would have the ability to protect himself. He could then go further and find out what the assessment was about. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had been in the tribe for 2 months. Now his injuries had completely recovered. However, to Lu Ming's surprise, his cultivation had not fully recovered. It was the same as when he was in the chaotic battle on the fighting ring. His cultivation and the power of law were all sealed. The only thing he could use now was the coiling dragon spear. The strength of his saint power was still at the lower tier of the bright saint realm. It's been 2 months. What's the test this time? Lu Ming furrowed his brows tightly and could not understand. Thump, thump, thump. Suddenly, deafening rumbles came from the tribe. It was the sound of war drums. The evil demons are here. The evil demons are here. Prepare to face the enemy. A loud roar echoed throughout the entire tribe. Lu Ming asked. The evil demon is here. Xiahua's face was a little pale. What is a demon? Lu Ming asked. Fiends, three-eyed fiends. I've heard that these fiends are wreaking havoc in other territories. They leave no one alive wherever they go. I didn't expect them to be here. Xiaohua's face was pale, but she still gritted her teeth, picked up a big bough and rushed out. Lu Ming also rushed out. As soon as he rushed out, Lu Ming saw many tall and burly figures appearing in the sky. These figures were covered in black scales and had an eye between their brows. Three-eyed god race. Lu Ming's heart trembled. This was clearly a three-eyed god. Lu Ming had seen it a few times. Kill all these ants. A cold voice came from the sky. Chapter 1775. Chapter 1775, Breaking the Shackles. Chapter 1775, Breaking the Shackles. Kill, die. One after another, the three-eyed gods descended from the sky and launched their terrifying attacks at the tribe. Block it! And NBSB, the experts of the tribe, held large bows and shot out terrifying arrows to block the attacks. You're looking for death. Let's go. A cold voice rang out. An extremely burly three-eyed god reached out with his hand and grabbed down. A huge hand formed and grabbed at the tribe. Block it! The strongest fighting force in the tribe was the hunting team. They stomped on the ground and shot into the sky, slashing out all kinds of weapons at the giant hand. Not good. Lu Ming was shocked. Judging from the aura of the three-eyed god who had extended his hand, he had clearly reached the Supreme Saint realm. The strongest in this tribe was only equivalent to a great circle bright saint. There was no way he could have blocked it. As expected, when everyone hit the giant hand, they all trembled and spat out blood as they fell to the ground. Boom! The giant hand continued to grab down and grabbed a few experts of the tribe. With a squeeze, those experts were crushed to death. Retreat! And NBSB experts from the tribe shouted. The other party was too strong. With the strength of their tribe, they were no match for him. If they continued to fight, they would all be killed. No one can escape, surround them. The Supreme Saint Three-Eyed God shouted coldly. And NBSB, even more three-eyed gods appeared in the sky, surrounding the tribe. More and more people stepped out and rushed into the tribe. Each of them had a powerful aura. Some of them were in the Saint realm, while many of them were in the advanced martial royal realm, or the half-saint realm. The three-eyed god wielded his battle axe and swung it down, killing one tribe member after another. The stench of blood filled the air. Whoosh! Whoosh! The third eye of the three-eyed god race shot out beams of destructive light that were unstoppable. One by one, the tribesmen were shot through and killed. The simple and peaceful tribe was instantly reduced to hell. My cultivation, my combat power. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with anger. The saint energy in his body was running wildly, but he could only exert the strength of a lower-tier bright saint. He condensed a long spear and threw it out, killing a few three-eyed gods in the third stage of the half-saint realm. However, there were simply too many three-eyed gods. The tribe was in a chaotic battle. Kill! It was as if Xia, who had truly transformed into a ferocious tiger. He wielded his battle saber and slashed two of the three-eyed god race's saint realm existences. You're looking for death. The great saint three-eyed god stared at Xiaohu and punched out, sending Xiaohu flying. At the same time, a destructive beam of light shot out from his forehead, blasting off one of Xiaohu's arms. Father! Xiahua shouted, extremely anxious. Kill! Xiaohu wielded his saber with one arm and charged at his opponent. However, destructive light kept bursting out from his opponent's eyes. The difference in combat strength between the two was too great. Xiaohu fought back with all his might and blocked the two destructive lights, but in the end, his saber shattered. His body was torn apart by the destructive light, and he died on the spot. Damn it! Lu Ming was also roaring in his heart. Xiaohu had brought him father. Xiahua cried out in grief, extremely mournful. Damn it! Lu Ming was also roaring in his heart. Xiaohu had brought him back from the Divine Beast Mountain and helped him heal his injuries. He was an honest and simple person. In the past 2 months, Lu Ming had already regarded Xiaohu as a friend and family. However, Xiaohu had died in front of Lu Ming. Mother, don't! Xiahua shouted again. At this moment, Xiaohua's mother held a sharp knife and pounced towards the three-eyed god. However, in the next moment, a destructive light swept over and Xiaohua's mother was killed. "Mother!" Xiaohua shouted, her eyes bloodshot. She threw away her longbow, pulled out the long sword on her back, and rushed over. "Xiaohua, don't go over!" Lu Ming roared and chased after Xiaohua. "Die, aunt!" And MBSB, a three-eyed god of the bright saint realm, appeared in front of Xiaohua and swung his axe at her. Lu Ming was shocked. He moved like lightning and rushed in front of Xiaohua. He swept his long spear, and it collided with the other party's battle axe. There was a loud boom. Lu Ming's body trembled, and he retreated continuously. The other party was also repelled by Lu Ming. "I can't use any techniques, not even nomological laws. I can't use much combat power at all." Lu Ming was burning with anxiety. "Brat, die!" The three-eyed god charged at Lu Ming again. Lu Ming wielded his long spear and fought with the other party. At this moment, Xiaohua rushed forward again. "Xiaohua, don't die in vain." Lu Ming blasted the other party with one shot and pulled Xiaohua back. "Big brother Lu, you should leave quickly. My parents have passed away. What's the point of me living on?" Xiaohua said in a cold voice. "Live on and take revenge for them." Lu Ming roared loudly, causing Xiaohua's body to tremble. "Revenge? In your dreams. Go to hell." A total of 2 three-eyed celestials charged toward Lu Ming. Both of them were at the bright saint realm, and one of them was even at the upper tier. The destructive light kept shooting toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming held the long spear and tried his best to block it. However, Lu Ming's current abilities were limited. After a few moves, he was forced to retreat and spit out a mouthful of blood. At this time, the entire tribe was completely immersed in blood and fire. Lu Ming saw that his acquaintances from the tribe were killed by the three-eyed god one after another. Some of them were even killed without even leaving a corpse behind. Lu Ming saw that Uncle Li, who often brought him medicinal wine, was split into 2 by a three-eyed god with an axe. Lu Ming saw the simple-looking middle-aged man, who often brought him meat, having his head twisted off by the three-eyed god. These three-eyed gods were truly demons. Lu Ming could feel the blood in his body boiling, as if it was about to turn into flames and burn. An icy cold killing intent burst out from Lu Ming's body. "Brat, die!" The 2 three-eyed gods charged toward Lu Ming again. Lu Ming stood in front of Xiaohua to protect her, refusing to retreat. However, there were simply too many three-eyed gods, and more three-eyed gods were coming from behind. "Big brother Lu, if you can walk, just go. Don't worry about me." "No." Xiaohu cried out as a few tears fell from her eyes. She turned around and pounced on one of the three-eyed gods with her sword in hand. "Don't!" Lu Ming wanted to shout, but he realized that his throat seemed to be stuck and he could not shout. Snowflakes flew in all directions. A teenage girl withered like a fresh flower. "Roar!" Lu Ming let out a beast-like roar. His eyes were bloodshot, and a terrifying killing intent emanated from his body. At this moment, the entire tribe was almost wiped out. There were not many people left. Kill them all, don't leave a single one." Someone roared, as if he was really slaughtering some ants. Boom! At this moment, Lu Ming seemed to have broken some kind of shackles. His aura surged wildly. Chapter 1776. Chapter 1776 Bleeding. Chapter 1776 Bleeding. Lu Ming could feel his blood burning. He had broken through the shackles in his body, and his aura was rising crazily. In the beginning, it was the initial bright saint, then the great mastery, then the peak, then the great circle, and finally it stopped. The seal in Lu Ming's body was broken, and all his combat strength was restored instantly. In front of him, the 2 three-eyed god race experts' expressions changed. Then they roared and charged toward Lu Ming. "Die!" Lu Ming growled, and the divine sword technique was released along with the sound waves, blasting into the other party's body. The 2 three-eyed god race bright saints' bodies suddenly stiffened, and their eyes revealed a look of disbelief. Then, the light in their eyes dimmed, and their bodies limply fell to the ground. Their souls had been destroyed by Lu Ming. With a single shout, he killed 2 bright saints, attracting the attention of the other three-eyed gods. "Kill him!" The great saint three-eyed god roared, and a dozen three-eyed gods charged toward Lu Ming. "Kill!" Lu Ming's eyes were filled with killing intent. His cold killing intent spread out. He used the divine sword technique. His soul was beating, forming a terrifying attack and spreading out. Previously, Lu Ming had broken through continuously and reached the great circle of the bright saint stage. Naturally, his soul power had increased greatly as well. Compared to before, it had increased by a large margin. When he used the divine sword technique, the power was astonishing. Just like the 2 three-eyed gods before him, the 10 three-eyed gods that were charging at Lu Ming were frozen in place. Their souls were destroyed and they fell to the ground. What? The expression of the three-eyed god at the great saint stage changed drastically. Kill. He had come personally. A destructive light shot out from the third eye between his brows. It exuded a terrifying fluctuation as it charged towards Lu Ming. Chaos finger. As the laws of chaos circulated, Lu Ming pointed with his finger. He had used all his strength. The chaos finger tribulation at 50% of its full power was unimaginably terrifying. And MBSB, a massive finger like the finger of a god, appeared and pointed at the great saint three-eyed god. The destructive light of the great saint three-eyed god was instantly destroyed by the primal chaos tribulation finger. But the finger continued on its path and appeared in front of the great saint three-eyed god in an instant. The terrifying power made the three-eyed spirit master's face change. He roared and kept swinging his axe while setting up layers of defense on his body. However, it was useless. When the primal chaos tribulation finger landed, the battle axe in his hand exploded, and all his defenses were shattered like tofu. No! He only had time to let out a roar before his burly body was turned into ashes by the chaos finger of tribulation. Commander! The rest of the three-eyed god race were all shocked. Their commander was a supreme saint expert, but he was killed in a single strike. Kill! Lu Ming let out a long howl. His killing intent surged like a tide. His body glowed, and holy weapons flew out from the light spots. These saint weapons transformed into streams of death as they shot out toward the three-eyed gods. Lu Ming showed no mercy to these three-eyed gods. There was only one word for him: kill. Given Lu Ming's current realm, he was invincible against anyone below the supreme saint realm and could be killed easily. More than 100 saint weapons turned into more than 100 rays of light. With a single charge, one, or even two, or retreated. Three-eyed god race beings were killed. Large groups of three-eyed gods fell to the ground. Retreat, retreat. Let's go. Call the general's vanguard to come and kill this man. The three-eyed race was scared, and many of them frantically retreated. Today none of you will be able to escape. You're courting death. Lu Ming said coldly. He transformed into a god of death and stood in the air. A dragon's roar came from his body as devouring power burst forth, enveloping the entire tribe and all the three-eyed gods. All of the three-eyed gods below the saint realm screamed in fear as their bodies shriveled up at a visible rate, turning into dried corpses. Although the sages were not turned into mummies, their bodies were affected by the devouring force, and they could not move. What awaited them was Lu Ming's merciless slaughter. The holy weapon danced in the air, and one by one, the three-eyed celestials were killed. Not long after, the three-eyed celestials who had come this time were basically all dead. Corpses covered the ground of the tribe, leaving only one alive. Lu Ming knocked him unconscious and kept him in the mountain and river diagram. There were only a few dozen people in the entire tribe who stood there in a daze. These were the few tribesmen who had survived. Lu Ming clenched his fists tightly. It was too tragic. He hated it in his heart. The speed at which he broke through the shackles was too slow. If he could have done it earlier, Xiahu Xiahua, Uncle Li, and the others would not have died. AI. A sigh filled with sorrow spread throughout the tribe. This was an old man who had survived. He was an elder of the tribe. Elder Lu, what are you planning to do next? Lu Ming walked to Elder Liu's side and asked. Now, the three-eyed demon has broken through the void and invaded the heaven realm. I heard that a large area of the heaven realm has been occupied. We plan to bury our tribesmen first, then go to the big tribes. Elder Lu said. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Elder Lu, how many years has it been since the three-eyed demons invaded the heavenly realm? Lu Ming asked. It's been several hundred years. I heard that countless experts of our heaven realm fought with the three-eyed demon and were all killed. Sigh, this is a calamity. Elder Lu sighed. Lu Ming had countless thoughts in his mind. According to his understanding, the three-eyed god race had already invaded the heavenly realm for countless years, but only a few hundred years had passed here. Perhaps all of this was real and a projection of the ancient era. Whether it's true or false, in my heart, all of this is real, Lu Ming muttered in his heart. He then buried the tribe members with the rest of the people. Little brother Lu, come with us and join a big clan. After the burial, Elder Lu said. Lu Ming shook his head. I'm not leaving. You guys can leave. I still have my own things to do. Elder Lu shook his head and didn't try to persuade him any further. After saying goodbye, he left with the rest of the tribe. Lu Ming stood alone in front of the tomb. After a long time, he took out a pot of wine and poured it on the ground. Whether this place is real or fake, whether it's a projection of the ancient times, or it really happened, I'll take revenge for you. A man should do some things and not do some things. Then, Lu Ming waved his hand, and the three-eyed god that he had kept in the mountain and river diagram appeared in front of the tomb. He had already woken up, and was looking at Lu Ming in horror. Tell me, where are your other troops? Lu Ming asked indifferently. You want to find our vanguard? The general of our vanguard is an expert in the great sage perfection realm. The three-eyed man said. Speak. Where is he? Lu Ming's voice was calm as he continued to ask. 80,000 li to the west of here. The three-eyed god replied. He would not hide anything from Lu Ming. He knew that he would die for sure, but there were many experts in the vanguard. Lu Ming would be sending himself to his death if he went. Chapter 1777. 1777 Chapter 1777. Borrowing force to attack. 1777 Chapter 1777 Borrowing force to attack with a burst of saint energy. The three-eyed god was killed, and his blood splattered all over the tomb. Xiahu Xiahua. I will take revenge for the two of you. From now on, if I encounter any three-eyed god in the outside world, I will kill them without mercy. Lu Ming muttered. This was his promise. Then, he stepped on the air and headed west. Not long after, Lu Ming arrived at the 80,000-mile journey. Up ahead, flags fluttered in the wind. This was a military camp with a large number of three-eyed gods. Lu Ming stood quietly in the sky, hidden in the clouds. He looked on quietly, thinking of countermeasures in his mind. After a moment, Lu Ming turned and left. Lu Ming did not give up, but he wanted to borrow strength. There were great saints in the great perfection realm among them. With Lu Ming's current combat strength, he was probably not a match for great saints in the great perfection realm. Moreover, there must be more great saints. It would be unwise to charge in alone. Although this place might be fake and an illusion, it could not be ruled out that it was real. This was because everything was too real. Lu Ming could not tell whether it was real or fake. Not long after, Lu Ming arrived at the Beast God Mountain. In the past, Lu Ming had come to the Beast God Mountain a few times with the tribe's hunting team. He knew that there were a bunch of blood-eyed demonic apes living in the Beast God Mountain. This kind of demonic ape was bloodthirsty by nature and very vengeful. Anyone who offended them would be chased to death. Previously, when the tribe's hunting team came here, they would avoid this pile of demonic apes. Now Lu Ming needed to borrow the power of these demonic apes. Lu Ming took a step forward and rushed into the Beast God Mountain. Not long after, he came to a valley. Roar! Roar! At the entrance of the valley, there were two giant apes. Their eyes were blood red, and their bodies were as black as steel. They were more than 5 meters tall, and their auras were overbearing. As soon as they saw Lu Ming, they roared and pounced at him with ferocious expressions. A combat sword appeared in Lu Ming's hand. With a slash, one of the demonic apes was killed. Roar! The other one let out an angry roar. The roar spread far and wide. Suddenly, the entire valley was in a riot. A terrifying aura spread out. The terrifying roars spread out one after another, as if they were going to overturn the mountain range. The earth was shaking, and countless blood-eyed demonic apes rushed out of the valley like a flood of steel. Kill! Die! Lu Ming bellowed, and cast the chaotic finger of tribulation. He pointed with all his might, and a huge chaotic finger of tribulation formed, pointing at the blood-eyed demonic apes. The blood-eyed demonic apes exploded. Then, Lu Ming turned around and ran, displaying his body movement technique to the extreme. Roar! Roar! A few terrifying blood-eyed demonic apes emerged from the crowd with a deafening roar. Their auras were terrifying. They were definitely advanced great saints. They chased after Lu Ming at top speed. Lu Ming used the thundering wind steps and the air-frozen bead at the same time. A wave of energy surged into Lu Ming's body, and black wings spread out on his back. They worked together to increase his speed to the extreme as he charged towards the three-eyed god army. There were at least 10,000 blood-eyed demonic apes in hot pursuit. Their speed was astonishing, and it didn't take long for them to arrive at the three-eyed god race's base. The army of the three-eyed god race had long since the assault of so many blood-eyed demonic apes. The army of the three-eyed god race flickered, and at least tens of thousands of three-eyed god soldiers appeared and formed a huge formation. Lu Ming did not stop. He charged straight towards the three-eyed god race's camp. Stop! And MBSB kill! A voice from the three-eyed god race roared. Lu Ming did not care and continued to attack. Kill him! A higher-up of the three-eyed god sect gave the order. Immediately, countless rays of light drowned Lu Ming. Lu Ming's body flickered nonstop as he dodged the attacks one after another. He was getting closer and closer to the three-eyed god. At this moment, Lu Ming's eyes turned as dark as ink. He cast the soul illusion. In the battle, he dodged with all his might, weaving through the army of three-eyed gods. 2240 boom. 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 At this moment, other than the Supreme Saints, the rest of the three-eyed god army were all affected by Lu Ming. In their eyes, Lu Ming's figure seemed to have disappeared. After a short pause, Lu Ming charged into the three-eyed god's army. Kill! There were great saints of the three-eyed god race charging toward Lu Ming, but he didn't linger in the battle. He dodged with all his might, weaving through the army of three-eyed gods. Boom! 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 Roar! 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 At this time, the blood-eyed demonic apes finally arrived. They didn't care about anything else, and charged straight into the army of the three-eyed god race. Anything that stood in their way was an enemy, and they were going to tear them apart. A large number of three-eyed gods were instantly killed. The army of the three-eyed god race immediately retaliated by killing the blood-eyed demonic apes. This way, the blood-eyed demonic apes would target the three-eyed god race, and both sides would engage in a bitter battle. And MBSB, the two sides were like a flood of steel that clashed together. In an instant, a large number of three-eyed gods and blood-eyed demonic apes were torn apart and killed. Kill him! In the sky, a three-eyed god with an unusually burly body and metal armor stood. His aura was incomparably powerful, and all three of his eyes were fixed on Lu Ming. He had seen clearly that Lu Ming had brought the blood-eyed demonic ape over. Instantly, two supreme saints in the initial mastery charged at Lu Ming. Two beams of destructive light pierced through the void and shot toward Lu Ming. A combat sword appeared in Lu Ming's hand. He slashed twice at the destructive light. Then his body trembled violently, and he was sent flying backward, a trace of blood spilling from his mouth. Of course, Lu Ming had done this on purpose. Otherwise, how could two great sage lower-tier three-eyed gods possibly injure him? But in the current situation, acting weak was the wisest choice. If he acted too strong, he would attract even more experts from the three-eyed god race. He would first act weak, and let the three-eyed god race fight the blood-eyed demonic ape while he reaped the benefits. The two three-eyed gods charged at Lu Ming. Lu Ming deliberately fought with them, but he appeared to be at a complete disadvantage. He was being suppressed, and was in a precarious situation. As expected, when the three-eyed god in armor saw that Lu Ming was injured by two great saints at the initial mastery, and was completely suppressed, a hint of disdain flashed in his eyes. He no longer looked at Lu Ming, and focused his attention on the blood-eyed demonic ape. Kill, kill! The three-eyed god roared as he charged forward. A destructive light shot out from his eyes, killing a supreme saint blood-eyed demonic ape. At the same time, he swung his battle axe and killed another blood-eyed demonic ape. Kill these bastards, let's go! The three-eyed god said as he led a group of his strongest experts toward the blood-eyed demonic ape. Roar! 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 A brutal roar was heard as a 10-meter-tall blood-eyed demonic ape dashed through the air towards the armored three-eyed god. It threw a punch that was imbued with demonic light, destroying the light of destruction. Behind him, there were also some particularly powerful blood-eyed demonic apes. The two sides were fighting, the strongest against the strongest. It was extremely tragic. Whether it was the three-eyed god race or the blood-eyed demonic ape, they were constantly falling and dying in battle. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 1778. Chapter 1778. Lu Ming's outburst. Chapter 1778. Lu Ming's outburst. Lu Ming continued to battle with the two three-eyed gods. He did not kill them. The two three-eyed gods became his perfect shield. With these two three-eyed gods around, the other three-eyed gods wouldn't come looking for him. As time passed, more and more of the three-eyed gods and blood-eyed demonic apes died. Even the most powerful great saints were dying in battle. The battle between the three-eyed god and the terrifying blood-eyed demonic ape had reached its climax. Both sides were great saints in the great perfection realm. Both sides were injured in the fierce battle. In the end, it was the three-eyed god that was stronger. After a few hundred moves, he managed to kill the blood-eyed demonic ape. However, the blood-eyed demonic ape fought back with all its might, shattering the three-eyed god's armor and piercing through his heart, heavily injuring him. At this time, the three-eyed god race was starting to gain the upper hand. After all, the three-eyed god race had more people and more experts. However, the blood-eyed demonic apes were already in a state of madness. In their eyes, there was only killing. He charged at the three-eyed god race without a care for his own life. Even if he died, he would drag the other down with him. When the last blood-eyed demonic ape was killed, the three-eyed god race also suffered heavy losses. Out of the 30,000 three-eyed gods, only 10,000 remained. 20,000 were killed by the frenzied blood-eyed demonic apes, and the remaining three-eyed gods were all injured. Why isn't this guy dead yet? Attack and kill him! The three-eyed god in armor roared and looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming was still engaged in battle with the two three-eyed gods. You're the ones who will die. At this moment, Lu Ming's aura suddenly skyrocketed. Light spots bloomed on his body, and more than 100 holy weapons appeared. The combat weapon Qi gathered on the combat sword in Lu Ming's hand. The sword glowed brightly. With a single slash, it destroyed the attack of a great sage minor mastery three-eyed god. With an unstoppable momentum, it charged towards the other party. Not good. The other party was shocked. He did not expect Lu Ming's combat strength to increase so suddenly. It was too late to dodge. The three-eyed god was split in half by Lu Ming. Kill, kill. Lu Ming bellowed as he shot out two rays of sword radiance that pierced into the other three-eyed god's body. The three-eyed god's body stiffened for a moment before Lu Ming's sword swept out and cut him in two. In an instant, two great saints at the initial mastery were killed by Lu Ming. When Lu Ming had broken through to the sage realm, he had almost killed an expert in the great sage initial mastery. Now that he had reached the perfected bright saint realm, killing an ordinary expert in the great sage initial mastery was as easy as cutting vegetables. Damn it, this person was hiding his strength. Let's attack together and kill him. The armored three-eyed god shouted. One by one, the three-eyed gods stepped into the air and charged toward Lu Ming. Before they even reached him, the destructive light in their eyes was already shooting toward Lu Ming. More than 100 holy weapons swirled around Lu Ming, blocking the destructive light. At the same time, he charged toward the group of three-eyed gods. With a loud shout, the godly sword technique burst out along with the sound waves. All those below the supreme saint realm let out shrill screams. Their souls were destroyed by Lu Ming, and their bodies fell to the ground like raindrops. In the blink of an eye, over 100 three-eyed gods were killed. At the same time, Lu Ming's hands were waving non-stop, and 9 sealing gates appeared, sealing a large number of three-eyed gods. Even a great saint would be sealed for a moment. In an instant it represented life and death. Lu Ming charged forward. His sword was thousands of meters long. With a single slash, hundreds of three-eyed gods were killed. Among them, there were 2 great saints in the initial realm. Buzz! In the sky, a Chaos Empyrean seal formed. It was extremely huge, like an ancient divine mountain, and it pressed down. Quickly run! Many of the three-eyed gods were scared out of their wits, and they began to flee in a frenzy. However, under the suppression of the primal Chaos Empyrean seal, the three-eyed gods were obliterated one after another. Anyone below the Supreme Saint realm was like an ant in front of Lu Ming. They had no way of fighting back. Those below the Supreme Saint realm retreat. Supreme Saint realm, join forces and kill him. The three-eyed god wearing battle armor roared. All the three-eyed gods below the Supreme Saint realm retreated at top speed, while the other burly three-eyed gods stepped forward and charged toward Lu Ming. All of them were great saints, and there were dozens of them. Dozens of destructive lights were shot out, causing Lu Ming's expression to turn very grave. So many great saints had joined forces. There were great saints in the minor mastery, great mastery, and even great saint peak. This force was too strong. Lu Ming could only retreat. Lu Ming's figure soared into the sky and dodged the attack. Kill! The great saints all charged at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's glabella glowed, and the Tai Chi disc array appeared. Lu Ming controlled the array Dao Law and countless runes formed, entering the Tai Chi disc array. The Tai Chi disc array enlarged rapidly, and the pattern of the yin-yang fish formed on it, pressing down. Thump! Thump! The attacks of the three-eyed gods all landed on the formation plate, and the formation plate trembled before being sent flying. Chaos Finger! At this moment, Lu Ming pointed with his finger and burst out with his strongest power. He pointed a finger at a peak great saint three-eyed god. Boom! The power of the chaotic finger tribulation, at 50%, was so powerful that even a peak supreme saint couldn't resist it. He spat out blood and retreated, his body almost cracking. Kill! Lu Ming's figure flashed, and he charged toward the great saint peak. Only those at the peak of the great saint realm, or above, could pose a threat to Lu Ming. He was not afraid of those at the great saint realm. Therefore, Lu Ming had to get rid of the great saint peak first. Die! On the way, a great sage initial mastery, and a great sage great mastery blocked in front of him, their battle axes swinging toward Lu Ming. Buzz! Buzz! A yin-yang fish pattern appeared on the Tai Chi formation disc. Then, the yin-yang fish pattern turned into a pair of yin-yang fish swords, and slashed at the two of them. The great saint lower tier three-eyed god was killed instantly, and the great saint upper tier almost died as well. A long gash was left on his body as he retreated frantically. However, how could Lu Ming let him retreat? He slashed out with his sword and ended this person. In the next moment, Lu Ming's figure had already appeared before the three-eyed god at the peak of the great saint realm. The three-eyed god was severely injured by Lu Ming's chaotic finger of tribulation. He could barely put up any resistance. With a wave of his hand, Lu Ming's 5 great saint weapons shot out and killed the three-eyed god. Under normal circumstances, Lu Ming would not have been able to kill a supreme saint pinnacle being so easily. However, these three-eyed celestials were all injured from the intense battle with the blood-eyed demonic ape. They were no longer at their peak. That was why Lu Ming managed to kill one of them with lightning speed. Then, Lu Ming did not stop and charged toward the other three-eyed gods. There were only 3 supreme saints on the other side. Now that one had died, there were 2 more. Of course, there was also a general, but he was more seriously injured. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 1779. Chapter 1779. Pass the test. Chapter 1779. Pass the test. Chaos Finger. Without even looking, Lu Ming pointed with his finger. He used all his strength, and a huge chaos finger of tribulation shot towards the crowd. Wherever the finger of primal chaos tribulation passed by, several great saint three-eyed gods would be killed. At this moment, Lu Ming was like a god of death, slaughtering the three-eyed god race without restraint. Damn it! Kill him! The armored three-eyed god roared. If not for his severe injuries, he would have already killed Lu Ming. Surround him, surround him, surround him. The three-eyed god wearing battle armor roared. Bang! Bang! The remaining great saints of the three-eyed god race stepped into the void. With 2 of their peak great saints as the leaders, They formed an encirclement and rained down attacks on Lu Ming. Prison suppression. Lu Ming waved his hands and pieces of the prison-suppressing steel appeared around him, crushing down on the three-eyed celestials. Not good, it's the prison-guarding steel retreat. When the three-eyed god race members saw the prison-suppressing steel, they all screamed in fear, as if they had seen something terrifying. They all backed away in a frenzy. A total of 9 prison-suppressing steels glowed and pressed down. 9 shrieks were heard. The 9 experts of Great Sage Initial and Great Sage Great Mastery didn't even have the courage to resist, and were killed directly. How can you have the prison-suppressing steel? The armored three-eyed god also had a look of fear in his eyes. What? Lu Ming's eyes flickered. These three-eyed gods were actually so afraid of the prison-suppressing steel? Without any hesitation, the fragment of the prison-suppressing steel appeared on his spine. As soon as the fragment of the prison-guarding steel appeared, it quickly grew to the size of a mountain. The 2 words prison and steel were especially bright. Buzz. And MBSB, the fragment of the prison-suppressing steel shot toward the three-eyed god. Block it, join forces to block it. A Supreme Saint peak-level great being, together with 7 or 8 Supreme Saints from the three-eyed god race, launched a series of terrifying attacks in an attempt to stop the prison-suppressing steel. However, the prison-suppressing steel seemed to contain a special power that was effective against the three-eyed god race. When the three-eyed god race's power hit the steel, it crumbled. And NBSB, the prison-suppressing steel, crushed down, and the three-eyed gods screamed in pain as they exploded. The only exception was the great saint at the peak, who was still alive. However, he was also half dead and was spitting out large mouthfuls of blood. Kill! Lu Ming charged forward and killed him with a single slash. Go! Lu Ming waved his hand, and the prison-suppressing steel flew towards the armored three-eyed god. Ah, damn it! And NBSB, the three-eyed god, panicked and tried to escape, but it was useless. In an instant, the prison-suppressing steel caught up to him, and the light from the steel grew even brighter as it pressed down. So what if it's the prison-suppressing steel? Get lost! The three-eyed god in armor roared as a beam of destructive light shot out from his forehead and slammed into the prison-suppressing steel, causing it to tremble. However, the strange power on the prison-suppressing steel burst out and crushed down, causing the destructive light to collapse instantly. Get lost! Get lost! Get lost! The three-eyed god in armor roared as he continued to swing his axe at the prison-suppressing steel, causing it to tremble. This three-eyed god was a great saint in the Great Circle. Even though he was heavily injured, his combat strength was still shocking. The prison-suppressing steel couldn't kill him in a short time. However, Lu Ming was still there. Lu Ming walked in the air and appeared not far away. Quickly come and help me. The three-eyed god was shocked. But the other three-eyed god race members were scared to death when they saw the prison-guarding steel. None of them dared to come out, and they all ran away in a hurry. No one can save you. You're courting death, Lu Ming said coldly. He pointed a finger at the other party. The terrifying power made the other party roar in despair. He tried his best to block the attack and kept swinging his axe. He finally managed to block the finger of tribulation of chaos, but he couldn't stop the power of the prison-suppressing steel. And NBSB, the prison-suppressing steel, crushed down, and with a roar of unwillingness, the three-eyed god was killed, his body torn to pieces. By now, not a single one of the other three-eyed god race had escaped. Lu Ming didn't pursue them. He knew that he couldn't kill all of the three-eyed gods on his own. There were so many of them, and they were all fleeing in different directions. It was impossible for him to catch up. To be able to annihilate a large portion of the three-eyed god army and kill their general was already an incredible feat. Lu Ming put away the prison-suppressing steel and landed on the ground. He sat on the ground and panted heavily. Just now, he had used the chaotic finger of tribulation with all his strength. He had used up a lot of saint power, and his physical strength was not enough. At this moment, a white light flashed in front of Lu Ming. The white-robed old man appeared. You've done well. The white-robed old man's gaze swept across the scene and revealed a hint of admiration. Is this my test? Lu Ming asked. That's right, this is a test. The white-robed old man nodded. Lu Ming was silent. After a long while he said, "Then are these all illusions? It's all fake. If you say it's true, it's true. If you say it's false, it's false." The white-robed old man said. His eyes were filled with reminiscence and sadness. He then continued, "What you've experienced and seen during this period of time actually happened in the ancient times. Those people used to exist, but they all died in the hands of the alien tribes. In ancient times, the alien races tore open the void and arrived. The heaven realm fell into chaos. Countless creatures were killed and billions of corpses were buried. It was a real river of blood. What you have experienced is just a projection of a place in ancient times." Lu Ming was silent again. After a while he asked, "Is this considered a pass?" "Not bad, you've passed," the white-robed old man said. "If I don't kill the general of the other side, will I not pass?" Lu Ming asked. The white-robed old man shook his head and said, "It's not that difficult. As long as you can kill your way to this camp, no matter what the result is, it won't matter. You've already passed, but your performance has exceeded my expectations. Of course, if you don't even dare to charge into this camp, then you failed. Let me show you some images." The white-robed old man waved his hand, and images appeared in the air. Lu Ming saw that the others were experiencing the same thing as him. They were also heavily injured and saved by Xiaohu. Then, they recuperated in the tribe. After that, the three-eyed god race attacked. However, Lu Ming saw that someone was killed by the three-eyed god race instead of breaking the shackles and recovering his cultivation when the three-eyed god race attacked. At this moment, a white light enveloped him, and this person was eliminated. There were also people who directly abandoned their tribes and fled by themselves. Similarly, they were enveloped by a ray of light and were also eliminated. Someone broke through the shackles and killed all the three-eyed gods that had invaded. They rushed to the camp and fell silent for a moment before retreating. Those who didn't plan on attacking the camp were also eliminated and teleported out. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 1780. Chapter 1780. Chapter 1780. Successor Lu Ming saw that when the three-eyed god race invaded and killed the tribesmen, Long Chen was so furious that his eyes were about to burst. In the end, he broke free of the shackles, recovered his cultivation, and killed all the three-eyed god race. Then, he directly killed his way into the military camp. After a fierce battle, he finally died of exhaustion. Of course, dying in battle here did not mean that they would really die. Lu Ming also saw that Huang Ling, like Long Chen, had also made her way to the military camp. In the end, she was surrounded and killed by many experts. And, in the end, Lu Ming only saw 6 people who dared to charge into the enemy's camp. As for the others, they either failed to break through the shackles, fled, or were too afraid to attack the enemy's camp. They were all teleported away. Other than Lu Ming, there were only 6 people. However, none of them could do what Lu Ming did, annihilating a large number of the enemy's troops and killing the three-eyed god general in the end. Lu Ming realized that different people with different cultivation levels would appear with different three-eyed gods. The higher one's cultivation level would be when they encountered a three-eyed god. For example, in the military camp, the supreme talents who reached the absolute saint realm would become emperor to be. No one could cross so many realms and kill a strong enemy. Lu Ming had to borrow the power of the blood-eyed demonic ape and the fragment of the prison-suppressing steel to do so. After he was done, the white-robed old man waved his hand, and the images disappeared. This time, including you, a total of 7 people passed the test. Your performance was the best. Since ancient times, no one could compare to you. So, congratulations on becoming the true inheritor of Hunyuan sect. The white-robed old man smiled. We succeeded just like that. Lu Ming muttered. Not bad, you've succeeded. It doesn't look difficult, but it's actually very, very difficult. In fact, there were people in ancient times with extremely strong combat strength who might have been able to do what you did, but most people didn't choose to do so. Instead, they turned around and left. They didn't attack the military camp. Without attacking the military camp, it's a failure. No matter how strong their combat strength is, it's useless. The white-robed elder sighed. Combat strength and talent aren't the only requirements for Hun Yuan sect's successor. It also requires courage, or rather a fearless spirit. If you don't even dare to fight to the death when your family and friends are killed, and can only retreat, then you're too selfish. What's the use of having strong combat strength? That kind of person might be able to become a peak expert, but he's not what my Hun Yuan sect needs. Hun Yuan sect, what's the purpose of spending so much effort to choose a successor? Lu Ming asked. Prepare for battle, the white-robed old man said. At this moment, his eyes shone with a brilliant light, and a terrifying aura emanated from his body. You've seen it for yourself. When the foreign tribes invaded, the people in the heaven realm were plunged into misery, and the endless territories were occupied. For so many years, countless experts of the heaven realm have fought against the foreign tribes, and countless heroes have died in battle. Now the heaven realm is almost completely occupied. As for the alien races, they have already started to open up the passage to the primordial realm. When the time comes, the alien races will descend on the primordial realm. When that time comes, the primordial realm will follow in the footsteps of the heaven realm, with billions of corpses lying on the ground. No one will be able to stay out of it. This battle was about to happen a long time ago. That's why Hun Yuan sect has been cultivating prodigies and experts for so many years, waiting for the final battle in the future. The white-robed old man explained. Lu Ming was shocked. Eggy had also said that the final battle was coming. Back in the Azure continent, he had seen the Titan longhorn beetle, guarding a pitch-black passage. Could it be that the other side of the passage was a foreign race? If the foreign tribes were to descend, would his family and friends be annihilated like the previous tribes? No, Lu Ming would never let this happen. Lu Ming clenched his fists tightly. In fact, it's not just the Hun Yuan sect. Back then, the strongest forces in the heaven realm were also doing this. Their inheritances were constantly flowing out. In fact, in ancient times, the primordial realm as human race didn't know how to cultivate. The reason they became powerful later on was because the strongest forces in the heaven realm leaked out all kinds of inheritances, resulting in the primordial realm's current situation. The white-robed old man explained. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. He didn't expect that the primordial realm's cultivation methods were spread by a few forces in the heaven realm. Actually, many of the primordial realm's ancient and powerful factions are disciples of the primordial chaos sect. Their ancestors all received the primordial chaos sect's inheritance. Since ancient times, Hun Yuan sect has been in a war for providence and has been searching for inheritors. We have divided the inheritors into 3 levels: gold inheritors, silver inheritors, and bronze inheritors. The white-robed old man explained. Then what level of inheritor am one? Lu Ming asked. Golden inheritor is the highest level. Since ancient times, you're the only one who has reached this level. Therefore, you're the true inheritor of Hun Yuan sect. The Zongzi of Hun Yuan sect will inherit the position of Hun Yuan sect's sect master in the future. The white-robed old man said. Oh, how many people does Hun Yuan sect have in the heaven realm? There are not many left. After so many years of war, not many people are still alive. Back then, almost all of the 9 hall masters died in battle. You cultivate the chaos scripture, so you should have obtained the inheritance of the chaos monarch. Back then, the chaos monarch was one of the strongest experts in the world, but he also died in battle. The white-robed old man sighed. Lu Ming was speechless. There were not many people left. What was the use of inheriting the position of Hun Yuan sect's sect master? You are a gold-ranked inheritor, so you have the right to see other people's images. Other people have no right to see your images. Moreover, the lower-ranked inheritors have to listen to the higher-ranked inheritors. The white-robed old man said. By the way, why didn't one see Bubbles know that space-time spirit mouse just now? Lu Ming asked. Lu Ming did not see Bubbles in the images just now. The space-time spirit mouse has a special identity. Her mother, the previous space-time spirit mouse, was one of the 9 hall masters of the Hun Yuan sect. So she didn't need to be tested. I took her to a place where the inheritance of the previous space-time spirit mouse is. The white-robed old man explained. Lu Ming was overjoyed. It was a great opportunity for Bubbles to obtain the inheritance of the previous generation of space-time spirit rats. All right, it'll take you to a place. The white-robed elder waved his hand, and the environment shattered like a mirror before disappearing. The next moment, Lu Ming appeared in a hall. At the same time, in another hall, Long Chun Feng Ling and the other 5 were gathered together. In front of them, a white-robed elder was floating in the air. Congratulations on passing the test and becoming Hunyuan Sect's silver inheritors, the white-robed old man said, and then explained some things. The 6 people's eyes flickered, but they didn't say anything, waiting for the next part. They were all prodigies of the major forces and knew more secrets than Lu Ming. They knew that there would definitely be benefits to becoming the Hunyuan Sect's inheritor. Now, I'll reward each of you with a wisp of nebulous primordial chaos. When you break through to the martial emperor realm in the future and condense a pocket world, you can refine the nebulous primordial chaos to make the pocket world even more stable and powerful, the white-robed old man said as he raised his hand. On his hand, there were 6 streams of qi that were constantly flowing, as if they had a spirit. Chapter 1781. Chapter 1781. Benefits and rewards. It's actually the nebulous primordial chaos? The eyes of the 6 people burst out with a burning light. Primordial chaos appeared and chaos appeared. The nebulous primordial chaos was an existence that was on par with the nebulous primordial chaos. It was a treasure of the world, born before the creation of the world. It was extremely precious and mysterious. As for the primordial chaos laws, they were also one of the 10 ultimate laws. Just as the white-robed elder had said, when one broke through to the emperor realm and condensed a small world, they would refine a wisp of nebulous primordial chaos. The small world would become more stable and powerful, far beyond ordinary small worlds. This was a priceless treasure that was hard to come by. Their hearts were burning with passion. The white-robed old man smiled. Of course, silver inheritors will not only receive these rewards. However, you are now in the sage realm. In the sage realm, you can only cultivate one type of law. You have magical powers now, and do not need other inheritances. However, when you cultivate to the emperor level, you can master many types of laws. The laws will merge and change endlessly. At that time, you will need a stronger inheritance. Therefore, after you reach the emperor level, you will have a chance to come here to obtain the inheritance. Furthermore, as silver inheritors, it'll give you silver inheritances tokens. In the future, you can mobilize a portion of the Hunyuan Sect's strength. Inheritors who are lower than you will have to listen to your orders. The white-robed old man's words of temptation made the eyes of Huang Ling and the other 5 light up. Senior, what conditions do we need to agree to? A peerless woman among the 6 asked. This woman was as beautiful as a fairy, and her every move was filled with endless temptation. The conditions are very simple. You are silver inheritors, so of course you have to listen to gold inheritors. The white-robed old man smiled. Someone has obtained a gold-level inheritor? One of the young men said in disbelief. This person was the child of death, who controlled the law of death. That's right. After countless years, one of them has become a golden inheritor, the white-robed old man said. Instantly, the 6 people's faces turned ugly. They were all heaven's favorites and they were proud. They wanted to step on other heaven's favorites and reach the peak. Now they were told to listen to other heaven's favorites. How could they accept this? Especially the child of death. He was the son of God, and was destined to become a peak expert in the future. How could he listen to others? Senior, so what if I don't obey? The child of death asked. If you don't listen to me, I'll send you out and disqualify you as silver inheritors. The white-robed old man said. This made the 6 people's faces very ugly. He was even more unwilling to let the opportunity that he had obtained fly away just like that. Furthermore, I'm not asking you to make a verbal promise. I want you to make a blood oath to obey the golden inheritor. The white-robed old man said. Senior, it's not impossible for us to obey the golden inheritor. But if he makes some excessive or impossible requests just because he's the golden inheritor, do we have to obey him? The peerless beauty asked. It's very simple. When you make the blood oath, you can add some conditions. If the other party's order goes against the conditions you add, you naturally don't have to listen to it. You won't break the oath and be affected by the blood oath. The white-robed old man said. The 6 people's eyes flickered. Even so, they were unwilling. The white-robed old man's gaze shifted and he said, "Of course, I'll also give you a chance. You have 20 years. After that, you can challenge the golden inheritors. Whoever wins can replace them and become the new golden inheritors. 20 years. At this moment, the eyes of the 6 people lit up. To them, 20 years had passed in the blink of an eye. The child of death was especially confident in himself. He could defeat anyone in the same generation. All right, I agree. The child of death was the first to speak. Senior, can you let us see what the golden inheritor looks like first? At this moment, Huang Ling spoke, and there was a strange look in her eyes. Lu Ming did not come here. With Lu Ming's talent, could he not become an inheritor? She was very curious. Of course you can. The white-robed old man smiled. With a wave of his hand, a figure appeared in the sky. It was Lu Ming. Lu Ming. It's Lu Ming. The eyes of Huang Ling and Long Chen lit up. It's him. The child of death's eyes shone with a shocking light. The others were the same. It's indeed him. His talent is terrifying. The other young man said. When they crossed the abyss previously, Lu Ming had come in first. Later on, he had even defeated the chaotic body. They had long since remembered him. Senior, I agree. Said Huang Ling. I also agree. Long Chen chimed in. This way 3 people agreed. I'll agree even if I have one. The peerless woman smiled. She was extremely charming and charming. The child of death. And the others couldn't help but take a few more glances. Then the last 2 people also agreed. All right, you can take the blood oath, the white-robed old man said. Immediately, everyone made a blood oath. Of course, they added some conditions to the blood oath. They could accept normal orders, but they didn't have to listen to special orders. All right, I'll now bestow you with the silver inheritance token. Also, I'll seal the nebulous primordial chaos in the token. The white-robed old man waved his hand, and 6 silver-white tokens appeared in the sky. The words primordial chaos were written on them. Following that, the white-robed elder sealed the 6 nebulous primordial chaos into the silver tokens. The 6 silver tokens flew towards the 6 of them, and they received them, solemnly putting them away. In Lu Ming's hall, 3 wisps of primordial qi appeared in the hands of the white-robed elder. An ordinary silver inheritor only has 1 wisp of the land of primordial chaos. A gold inheritor only has 3 wisps. The white-robed elder said. He then took out a golden token and sealed the 3 wisps of primordial qi into it. The token flew towards Lu Ming, who caught it and kept it in the mountain and river diagram. As the only golden inheritor, that's all I get? Lu Ming looked at the white-robed old man eagerly. That's not all. The other 6 silver inheritors have to listen to you. The white-robed old man said. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Other than Long Chen and Feng Ling, the other 6 were good friends with him. Naturally, there was no issue of ordering them around. However, the other 4 were all extremely powerful geniuses. They definitely came from powerful forces. If Lu Ming listened to them, it would definitely be very beneficial to him. Furthermore, when these people grew up in the future, they would definitely be rare experts and would become Lu Ming's helpers. Of course, there's a condition. They can challenge you in 20 years. If you lose, they will replace you as the new golden inheritors. The white-robed old man said. 20 years later? They can't be my match. Lu Ming said, full of confidence. Chapter 1782. Chapter 1782. Chapter 1782. Young sect master. Right now, there might be some young prodigies whose cultivation levels were much higher than Lu Ming's. However, 20 years later, Lu Ming was confident that he would not be weaker than anyone of his generation. If he didn't even have this bit of confidence, how could he reach the peak? This was the same as the child of death and the others. All peerless geniuses were full of confidence in themselves and believed that they could suppress everyone. All right, I hope you can suppress everyone. The white-robed old man said. Senior, is there any more benefits? Lu Ming looked at the white-robed old man eagerly. Naturally, the white-robed old man smiled, and a jade token appeared in his hand. He said, "This is a list of all the Hunyuan sect inheritors. Since ancient times, there have been quite a number of them. They are bronze and silver inheritors. They have all sworn to take orders from higher-ranked inheritors. Take a look." The white-robed elder passed the jade token to Lu Ming. Lu Ming took it and sank his spiritual sense into it. He immediately saw more than 200 names. Senior, over the course of countless years, only 200 or so people have become inheritors. And Lu Ming was surprised. There were 7 of them this time. You think it's easy to become an inheritor? The reason why there are so many of you is because we're in a golden age, where all the elites are gathered. That's why there are 7 inheritors at once. In the past, there might not have been a single inheritor for many years. The white-robed old man said, "But let me tell you, some of these people here died in battle before they could grow up. Some of them became unparalleled experts and established terrifying forces. Many of them even became emperor-level experts. However, the stronger your cultivation is, the stronger your ability to resist the oath. If you go to them now, those powerful existences may not listen to you, and may even kill you. You'd better know what to do," the white-robed old man warned. It can't be. Lu Ming was speechless. For an existence that didn't listen to him. So what if they were strong? This name list was as good as nothing. It was useless. Of course, we can't rule out the possibility that there are people who are loyal to the Hunyuan sect, and will take orders from the high-level inheritors. You have to be sure of this, the white-robed old man said. Lu Ming was so depressed that he was about to vomit blood. He suddenly felt that the white-robed elder was asking for a beating. Confidence? How? How would he know which people were loyal to Hunyuan sect? If he rashly ran over and said that he was the Hunyuan sect's gold inheritor, he would probably be slapped to death by those powerful existences. The longer the time, the weaker the binding of the oath. The stronger the cultivation, the weaker the binding of the oath. Some peerless powerhouses had the power to destroy the world, and even transcended oaths. Any oath was useless. What? Lu Ming's spiritual senses suddenly scanned a name. Sakura. D. What did it have to do with the Dai family? Senior, who is this Sakura? Do you have any news about him? Lu Ming asked. I'm not very clear about the current situation of the people above, but this Sakura is definitely still alive, and his cultivation is very profound. You have the golden inheritance token. So if you approach a low-level inheritance token in the future, you will be able to sense it, the white-robed old man said. Lu Ming nodded. If this Sakura was really an expert of the Dai family, would he listen to his orders? It was probably very mysterious. Senior, this name list isn't of much use. Is there any other reward for me? Lu Ming continued to stare at the white-robed old man. Your cultivation is still low. There are some powerful inheritances that you can only cultivate after you reach the emperor rank, the white-robed elder said helplessly. No way. Is there any sacred art related to the Array Dao laws? Lu Ming asked. His Array Dao laws could not be used without the combination of a sacred art. Array Dao laws? I have one of the 9 scrolls of the Tao of Arrays, the sealed scroll. I'll give it to you. The white-robed old man thought for a moment, and a jade token appeared in his hand. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He quickly took it and scanned it with his spiritual senses. He immediately saw a bunch of wonderful content. The 9 scrolls of Array Dao is the highest technique to cultivate the Array Dao laws. It seizes the good fortune of heaven and earth, and was created by a powerful existence. However, I only have one of the 9 scrolls here. You'll have to find the rest on your own, the white-robed old man said. What a pity. Lu Ming sighed in his heart and kept it. He looked at the white-robed elder and said, Senior, are there any other rewards, such as secret techniques or the like? The white-robed old man's eyelids kept twitching. This kid was too greedy. I have a secret technique here called the Divine Breath Technique. It can change and hide one's aura. With your current cultivation, even an ordinary minor emperor expert won't be able to see through it if they don't look carefully. After the white-robed old man finished speaking, a jade token appeared in his hand. He can even hide from a little emperor? It's even more powerful than the illusionary breath technique? Lu Ming was shocked then overjoyed. Illusionary breath technique? That's just a simplified version of the divine breath technique. The white-robed old man said. Many thanks, senior. Lu Ming received it with great joy. All right, I'll send you to meet the others. As if he was afraid that Lu Ming would speak again, the white-robed elder did not give him a chance to speak. He waved his hand and left with Lu Ming. In the next moment, Lu Ming appeared in another hall. This hall was the hall where Long Chun, Feng Ling, and the others were. As soon as Lu Ming appeared, the 6 of them looked over at the same time. Lu Ming! When she saw Lu Ming, Huang Ling's face lit up and she hurried over. Haha, we shouldn't call each other by name now. We should call each other young sect master. Long Chun said with a smile. Lu Ming was a golden inheritor, and would inherit the position of Hunyuan sect's sect master in the future. They should address him as young sect master. Long Chun and Feng Ling were friends. There's no need to be so formal. Just like before. Lu Ming smiled. Long Chun and Feng Ling nodded with a smile. They understood Lu Ming's character. Luo Tianyi greets the young sect master. A peerless woman walked over gracefully and bowed to Lu Ming. Young lady, please rise, no need to be so polite. Lu Ming said hurriedly. Then Lu Ming's gaze shifted to the other 3, the child of death, and the 2 young men all had ugly expressions. They could not bow to Lu Ming. Their cultivation was higher than Lu Ming's. They could not get over this. I know that you are not convinced, and even look down on me. It doesn't matter. If it is not necessary, I will not order you around. Similarly, in 20 years, I will give you the opportunity to challenge me. If you can defeat me, I will respect him as the young sect master. Lu Ming said, you won't be a match for me in 20 years. The position of the gold inheritor is destined to be mine. The child of death spoke in an extremely domineering manner. I'll wait for your challenge, but I'll be the young sect master for the next 20 years. Lu Ming said. The child of death's expression changed, but in the end, his eyes revealed a determined look. He cupped his fists and said, young sect master. Then he stepped aside. The other 2 people pondered for a moment, and bowed to Lu Ming as well. Chapter 1783. Chapter 1783. Jade Lake's Holy Virgin Inheritance. Alright, you've all met and gotten to know each other. I hope you can help each other in the future. Let me tell you, the final battle will come soon. When the time comes, you'll need to work together to fight the enemy. Now I'll send you back, the white-robed elder said. With a wave of his hand, beams of light enveloped Lu Ming and the others. Then they felt dizzy. After an unknown period of time, Lu Ming found himself back in the Phoenix Palace's courtyard. With him were Long Chun, Feng Ling, and of course Bubbles. Lu Ming, big brother. When Bubbles saw Lu Ming, she pounced on him and hung on his shoulder. Bubbles, your cultivation has reached the Supreme Saint realm. Lu Ming took a look and realized that the Bubbles' aura was extremely thick. It had actually reached the Great Saint realm. Yeah, that old man sent me to a place before, and I inexplicably broke through, and something else appeared in my head. Chirp chirp. Pow Pow said in a childish voice. It must be related to the inheritance of the space-time spirit mouse. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He was happy for Bubbles. Lu Ming, Feng Ling. My cultivation has reached the limit of a bright saint. I feel like you'll be breaking through soon. I'll return to the Divine Elephant sect to cultivate in seclusion. Long Chun said. Alright, I wish you a smooth breakthrough, Lu Ming said. Long Chun nodded, then stepped into the air and left. Lu Ming, I'm about to break through too. I'm afraid I'll need to go into seclusion, said Huang Ling. It just so happens that I also need to go into closed-door cultivation for a period of time. Lu Ming nodded. He had obtained one of the 9 scrolls of Array Dao, the sealed scroll, and the divine breath technique. He needed to cultivate both of them. At this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air rang out. A figure stepped through the air and arrived. It was Mu Qingxue. Lu Ming, Feng Ling, you're finally here. Where have you been for the past few months? One couldn't find you anywhere, and one couldn't transmit my voice either, so I thought something happened to you. As soon as Mu Qingxue arrived, she began to complain. Qingxue, how did you know that we've returned so quickly? Huang Ling asked curiously. I'm just nearby. I saw Long Chun coming out of here. One guess you guys are back too. Mu Qingxue said. Qingxue, I'm sorry. Due to the sudden incident, we were participating in the Hunyuan sex examination and didn't inform you. Huang Ling said apologetically, not hiding anything from Mu Qingxue. You guys participated in the Hunyuan sex test? Lu Ming, no wonder you've also obtained a primordial chaos token? Mu Qingxue nodded in realization. Yes. By the way, how long have we been there? Lu Ming nodded and asked. It's been 4 months, Mu Qingxue said. Only 4 months? Lu Ming was stunned. He remembered that it had been more than half a year since he went to Hunyuan sect for the assessment. Perhaps the 2 months he spent in the tribe during the last assessment was just an illusion and not real. Perhaps it had only been a moment. Lu Ming guessed in his heart. By the way, some of the Heaven's Pride experts who went to the Heavenly Emperor City have returned. Not long ago, a Heaven's Pride expert from the Wan family came and said that he wanted to challenge Lu Ming. In the end, he was blocked by us. Then, the people from the Wan family spread rumors everywhere that Lu Ming encountered a stronger opponent and did not dare to fight. He was like a turtle that hid in its shell, Mu Qingxue said. The Wen family again. A cold glint flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. A bunch of clowns, ignore them. After chatting for a while, Huang Ling and Mu Qingxue bade farewell and left. Lu Ming returned to his room and entered the mountain and river diagram to begin his seclusion. First, he had to practice the divine breath technique. Lu Ming took out the divine breath technique jade card and studied it carefully. He then started to cultivate. Lu Ming had cultivated the illusionary breath technique before. Although the divine breath technique was wonderful, it was not difficult for Lu Ming. In a short 3 days, Lu Ming had successfully cultivated it. Following that, Lu Ming took out the sealed scroll, one of the 9 scrolls of the Array Dao, and studied it carefully. How wonderful! After a long time, Lu Ming sighed. The sealed scroll was able to unleash the wondrous power of the Array Dao laws, forming a sealing technique. If cultivated to the highest level, it could even seal the heavens and earth, suppressing everything. This was created by a terrifying existence, and it was extremely profound. This is only one of the 9 scrolls on the Tao of Arrays. I wonder how amazing the other 8 scrolls are. Lu Ming was really looking forward to it. In the days that followed, Lu Ming sat cross-legged under the path understanding ancient tree. He focused on understanding the path and cultivating the art of sealing. In the blink of an eye, 2 months had passed. At this moment, Lu Ming had ended his cultivation because he sensed movement outside. Before he entered the mountain and river diagram, he had set up a sensing array in the courtyard. As long as someone came to look for him, he would be able to sense it. With a thought, Lu Ming exited the mountain and river diagram. He walked out of his room and saw Huang Ling. Huang Ling, congratulations on breaking through to the Supreme Saint realm. Lu Ming swept his gaze across the room and realized that Huang Ling's aura was much stronger than before. It was obvious that she had made a breakthrough in her cultivation. You're about to break through, aren't you? Oh yes, someone has sent you an invitation. Huang Ling smiled. As she spoke, an invitation card appeared in her hand. An invitation? Who sent it? Lu Ming was curious. Jade Lake, this time, the Jade Lake Inheritance Holy Maiden has appeared. She's holding a tea party and sending out invitations to all the geniuses of the ancient Moon Holy Land to gather at the Jade Lake, said Huang Ling, holy successor. Lu Ming was puzzled. He remembered that the last time the Jade Lake Saint was born, she was not called the Saint of Inheritance. As if she could read Lu Ming's mind, Huang Ling explained, the 9 holy virgins of the Jade Lake were just ordinary holy virgins. The holy successor of the Jade Lake is better than ordinary holy virgins in terms of status, talent, and beauty. She has the potential to take over the Jade Lake in the future. However, the Jade Lake has very few holy inheritances, and the selection criteria are very strict. The Jade Lake hasn't had a holy inheritances for thousands of years, and this time, they're inviting many heroes. I'm afraid that there will be many heroes coming to the ancient Moon Holy Land. It will be very lively. Since that's the case, we can meet up. When? Lu Ming asked. Tomorrow. I'll come find you tomorrow. Let's go together. said Huang Ling. Lu Ming nodded. A day passed in the blink of an eye. The next day, Huang Ling and Mu Qingxue came to look for Lu Ming. Lu Ming brought Bubbles with him and went to the jade pool. It was still the same lake as last time. Above the lake, there were many palaces, and the jade pool immortal palace appeared. Someone came to welcome them in front of the immortal palace. They entered the jade lake divine palace and came to a quiet and beautiful place. This area was extremely vast. At this moment, the two sides of the area were already filled with tables. Many people had already arrived. They were all heaven's favorites from the younger generation. There were both men and women, and they came from all sorts of powerful forces. A few young and beautiful women were walking around the tables, pouring tea for the many geniuses. In this area, the fragrance of tea assailed the nose. At the top of the area, there were 9 jade tables. The 9 saintesses of the jade pool sat at each of the 9 tables. Behind the 9 saintesses, there was a pavilion floating in the air. There was a flight of stairs that extended to the bottom. There was also a jade table in the pavilion, but no one was there. Many people knew that the Jade Lake Holy Virgin would be sitting in that pavilion. Chapter 1784. Chapter 1784. Luo Tianyi Long Chun. When Lu Ming and the rest arrived, they saw Long Chun sitting at a table. They walked over and sat down at Long Chun's table. "You guys are here." Long Chun nodded and poured tea for Lu Ming and the rest. Lu Ming's eyes swept across the area and discovered that Long Chun's aura was also extremely powerful. It was obvious that Long Chun had also made a breakthrough and entered the Supreme Saint realm. The few of them chatted and drank tea. Outside, more and more people arrived. Before long, there were already hundreds of people in this area. They were all heaven's favorites of the younger generation. Almost all of the heaven's favorites from the ancient Moon Holy Land had been invited. "Hehe, Lu Ming, you finally stopped being a tortoise and come out." At this moment, a sneer reverberated throughout the entire area. Lu Ming looked in the direction of the voice and saw a few young people looking at him with cold eyes. The Wuan clan's prodigy. Among them were Wan Tianbing, Wan Tianlong, and another person who exuded an air of nobility. Lu Ming did not recognize him, but it was clearly another prodigy of the Wan family. It was Wan Tianbing who had just spoken. At the scene, many paragons looked at Lu Ming, and then at the Wan clan's paragon with anticipation. It seemed that Lu Ming was going to clash with the Wan family again. "Wan Tianbing, what? You didn't feel good after the last battle?" Lu Ming said in disdain. Wan Tianbing's face darkened, and he snorted coldly. "Last time, one was just careless. You don't need to be proud." "Careless? What a joke. If it wasn't for you, the old dog of the Wan family, shamelessly interfering last time, you would have already died." Lu Ming sneered in disdain. Bang! At this moment, a young man beside Wan Tianbing slammed the table. His eyes were as cold as lightning as he looked at Lu Ming and berated, "Impudent! How dare you insult the Wan family's seniors? You deserve to die 10,000 times." Lu Ming looked at the person and said indifferently, "Who the hell are you?" Was one wrong to call those old men of the Wan family old dogs? After hitting the young, the old will make a move. It was obvious to all. "You still dare to talk nonsense, I'll kill you today. You're courting death." The man shouted coldly. He stood up suddenly and his powerful aura pressed toward Lu Ming. The Great Saint Realm. Without a doubt, this man was a supreme saint, much stronger than Wan Tianbing. Boom! Beside Lu Ming, Long Chun and Feng Ling burst out with a powerful aura at the same time, dispersing the man's aura in one go, causing the man's expression to change. He was not the only one. The others' expressions also changed drastically as they looked at Feng Ling and Long Chun in disbelief. Supreme Saint, Feng Ling and Long Chun have also broken through to the Supreme Saint realm. How is that possible? A few months ago, they were still far from the Great Saint realm. How did they break through to the Great Saint realm so quickly? It's incredible. Many people exclaimed in disbelief. In particular, some of the geniuses who had competed with Feng Ling and Long Chun in the past were even paler. For example, Huang Kong, Huang Bing, and the others of the Phoenix Palace looked at Feng Ling tongue-tied. In the end they sighed. They knew that they had been far surpassed by Huang Ling, coupled with Huang Ling's terrifying talent. They would never be able to surpass her in their lifetime. The Heaven's Pride expert of the Wan family was called Wan Pingyang. He was one of the strongest Heaven's Pride experts of the Wan family. He had just returned from the Heaven Empyrean city. His expression changed. He did not expect Long Chun and Feng Ling to be so powerful. Wan Pingyang rolled his eyes and sneered. Lu Ming, you're really a coward. When I went to the Phoenix Palace to challenge you, you hid and refused to fight. Now you're hiding behind someone else. Hee. This is the first time I've seen martial arts rely on hiding. You're a great saint, yet you want to fight a bright saint like me. Do you think it's a glorious thing? Is this your confidence and pride? Lu Ming responded indifferently. Haha, what a joke. Cultivation is also a type of talent. No matter how strong you are, if you are forever stuck at a cultivation level, you will still be a piece of trash. One can suppress you with a flip of my hand. Wan Pingyang laughed and mocked. You're really that confident? You can suppress me? If a supreme saint is suppressed by a sacred light like me, I wonder if the elders of the Wan family will come and find trouble with me again? Lu Ming said calmly. It's ridiculous to be suppressed by you. Do you think that's possible? Come out and fight. Wan Pingyang shouted. The corners of Lu Ming's lips curled up slightly. A cold glint flashed in his eyes, and he was about to stand up. At this moment, a clear voice sounded. Everyone, we're here to taste tea today, and get to know each other. There's no need to use force. The holy successor is about to arrive. At this moment, a holy maiden of the Jade Lake spoke. Lu Ming, you're lucky. I'll give the Jade Lake saint some face today. But your luck won't last forever. Wan Pingyang said coldly. Luck? The corners of Lu Ming's lips curled up slightly. Who was the lucky one? They're here. At this moment, someone spoke, and everyone's eyes turned to the pavilion. A woman stepped out from the depths of the Jade Lake Divine Palace. Her figure was the most beautiful piece of art in the world. She was well-proportioned and beautiful, making people unable to move their eyes away. With every step she took, a cloud would appear in the sky and drag her body. Everyone's eyes moved up, and saw a peerless face that could topple cities. The 9 Jade Lake saintesses were already peerless beauties, but they paled in comparison to this woman. This woman was like a fairy that had walked out of a painting, the goddess of legends. It's so beautiful. Someone mumbled to himself. He was already dumbfounded. Lu Ming was also dumbfounded. Not only him, even Huang Ling and Long Chun were stunned. It wasn't because she was too beautiful, but because they knew her. Luo Tianyi, Lu Ming muttered to himself. He had never expected that the Jade Pool's holy successor would be Luo Tianyi, one of the 7 people who had passed the Hunyuan sex assessment and obtained the silver inheritor. I didn't expect that she would be the holy successor of the Jade Lake. Huang Ling muttered to herself. I really didn't expect it. Lu Ming said. Brother Lu Ming is really perverted. He is in a daze when he sees a beautiful woman. At the side, Pow Pow muttered. Cough cough. Lu Ming coughed a few times in embarrassment, his face blushing slightly. He picked up a cup of tea and took a sip. He glanced at Bubbles and said, What does a little brat know? Of course one know. You think I can't tell from your eyes? And brother Long Chun too, and sister Feng Ling. Bubbles pouted her chubby little mouth, a trace of disdain flashing in her eyes, which made Long Chun and Feng Ling a little embarrassed. Little girl, you're talking nonsense. I'm a woman, how could I? Huang Ling rolled her eyes at Bubbles. Can't a woman do that? Paoba muttered. At this time, Luo Tianyi had already landed on the pavilion. She picked up a cup of tea and said, I'm Luo Tianyi. Thank you for coming. One don't have any wine today, only tea. I'll drink tea in place of wine. Here's a toast to you all. Then he picked up the teacup and took a sip. Chapter 1785. Chapter 1785. Chapter 1785. Scaring away geniuses with a glance. To be honest, Luo Tianyi was extremely beautiful. Her appearance was no less than Huang Ling and Xian Yinqing. But she had an extra temperament, a charming temperament. Her every smile and every move seemed to be full of charm. At the scene, Most of the young men were tempted and stared at Luo Tianyi with fiery eyes. Wan Pingyang was the same. His eyes were burning as he looked at Luo Tianyi, unable to move his eyes away. I wouldn't dare. It's my honor to be able to meet Tianyi Saintess today. Saintess, you're a heavenly beauty like a goddess. It's my good fortune to meet you today. Some self-proclaimed handsome sovereigns immediately opened their mouths, trying to attract Luo Tianyi's attention. Every time the holy maiden was born, the jade pool would choose a guardian to grow up with her. To put it simply, a Tao protector was a Tao companion and a husband. This was the case for the ordinary holy maidens, and it was even more so for the holy successor. If they could become the guardians of the Jade Lake's holy successor, they would not only get a rare beauty, but also enjoy the vast resources of the Jade Lake. Who wouldn't want that? Luo Tianyi smiled and waved her hand. Tianyi, thanks everyone for coming, please sit. Everyone took their seats, but there was one exception. It was a purple-robed young man with a burly figure. The most eye-catching thing about him was his purple hair that fluttered in the wind. He was filled with an unbridled arrogance. He stared at Luo Tianyi with fiery eyes and said, Holy maiden, you are sitting alone in the pavilion. Aren't you lonely? How about I accompany you? With that, the man rose into the air and stepped forward, about to step into the pavilion. It's Su Tuo from the Skywolf Tower. Someone said. They recognized this young man. He was an extremely powerful Heaven's favorite. Su Tuo stepped forward and quickly approached the pavilion. The 9 ordinary saintesses of the Jade Lake looked awful. This man's behavior was an insult to the Holy Virgin of the Jade Lake. This brother, you've gone too far. Tianyi Saint did not invite you up. An ordinary saintess rose into the air and blocked in front of Su Tuo. I can't go if they didn't invite me? Didn't the Jade Lake Saint come out to find a man? Do you think him not qualified? Su Tuo said, his purple hair flying in the wind. He stared at Luo Tianyi with fiery eyes and was very overbearing. Mind your words. The ordinary holy virgins of the Jade Lake looked even worse. Su Tuo's words were an insult. What are you pretending for? Women are born to be enjoyed by men. Otherwise, what's the use of being born in this world? Get out of my way. Su Tuo's aura was wild as he shouted. His shout was like a wolf howling at the moon. The ordinary saintesses' faces turned pale, and their bodies trembled as they retreated. Su Tuo was obviously in the Supreme Saint realm, and was extremely powerful. He was one of the top heaven's favorites in ancient Moon Holy Land, and came from the powerful force Skywolf Tower. Bang! Bang! With a loud shout, he forced a few ordinary saintesses back. Su Tuo became even more arrogant as he stepped forward, causing the void to crack. The people of the Skywolf Tower are really overbearing. Someone said, the Skywolf Tower is full of skywolves. They are arrogant and extremely protective of their own people. They are a group of lunatics. Let's keep our voices down. Someone else said, buzz, buzz. At this moment, a few other saintesses stood in front of Su Tuo. Get lost. Many of them shouted again. Their purple hair danced in the wind, as if they were about to transform into a purple wolf and pounce. Let him come over. Luo Tianyi said. Her expression was very calm as she sat on a jade bench, picked up a cup of tea, and casually sipped on it. Yes, the few saintesses nodded and made way for him. Ha ha ha, Tianyi Saint, how about one be your protector? We'll be done tonight. Su Tuo laughed and landed on the edge of the pavilion. It's not impossible to become Tianyi's guardian. It all depends on whether young master has the ability to do so. Luo Tianyi smiled, full of infinite temptation. At this time, her eyes turned black, and a mysterious fluctuation spread out from her body. At this moment Su Tuo's body froze. The next moment he shouted, Who is it? Then he turned around abruptly and threw a punch backward. A terrifying fist force rushed into the vast void. Everyone looked at each other. There was no one behind Su Tuo. So why was he attacking? However, the next scene was even more shocking. And NBSB Su Tuo roared and punched continuously. His face was twisted as if he was fighting someone. After punching a few hundred times, he spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face turned pale. Illusion, Su Tuo was under an illusion. Someone exclaimed. It was obvious that Su Tuo was under an illusion. However, with Su Tuo's cultivation level, it was shocking that he had fallen for the illusion without even realizing it. At this time, Su Tuo also woke up and looked at Luo Tianyi with an ugly expression. Young master can't even sit on this seat. It seems that young master is not qualified to be Tianyi's Dao protector. Luo Tianyi said, still smiling. Su Ta, you should come down. With your cultivation, you're not qualified. Someone said in disdain. Many of the geniuses who came today had cultivation realms that were not inferior to Su Tuo's. They were not afraid of him. Su Tuo's expression turned even uglier. He snorted coldly, turned around and stepped into the air, leaving the Jade Lake Divine Palace. He was too embarrassed to stay. He had been overbearing and said that he wanted Luo Tianyi to be his woman. Now Luo Tianyi had not even made a move, and he was already injured. Obviously he was far from Luo Tianyi. Whoever wants to have a drink with me, just come up. As long as you can enter the pavilion from this jade ladder, I will drink with you today, Luo Tianyi said with a smile. This made many people's hearts beat faster. As the saying goes, the pavilion closest to the water enjoys the moonlight first. If he could sit and drink tea with Luo Tianyi and get closer to her, he might have a chance to win her over in the future. The eyes of many powerful geniuses flickered. I'll do it. In the crowd, a golden light flashed, and an unruly young man in a golden robe flew up the jade ladder, then stepped toward the pavilion. It's the fifth prince of the Golden Crow clan. Someone recognized this person. The Golden Crow race. There was a cold glint in Lu Ming's eyes. It was said that the Golden Crow race was extremely powerful. In this generation, there were 10 crown princes, each stronger than the last. They were all extremely terrifying existences. The fifth prince of the Golden Crow was also very famous. He had reached the Supreme Saint realm a few years ago. The fifth prince of the Golden Crow wore a serious expression. His entire body was enveloped in the divine sun fire. He walked up step by step, but when he was halfway there, he suddenly stopped and his body began to tremble. Break! In the end, he closed his eyes and roared. Boom! A dazzling divine sun fire rushed out of his body, as if it was trying to fight against something. But after a moment, his body trembled, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His body was thrown back like a kite with a broken string. Chapter 1786. Chapter 1786. Chapter 1786 Heavenly Illusion. The fifth prince of the Golden Crow vomited blood and retreated, shocking many people. Luo Tianyi, the holy successor of the Jade Pool, was so terrifying. She sat in the pavilion without moving, but the Golden Crow fifth prince vomited blood and retreated. Could that be the legendary sky illusion law? It's possible. Otherwise, how could it have such power? The sky illusion law is a king path law, second only to the 10 strongest laws. Luo Tianyi is a king body. Another king physique has appeared. Today, we've really entered an era of kings contending for hegemony. It's not just the king physique. There are even a few sons of heaven in the heavenly emperor city. Isn't Lu Ming the son of chaos? Sounds of discussion could be heard in the surroundings. It should be one of the king path laws, the sky illusion law. Lu Ming muttered. Under the 10 ultimate maxims, there were some maxims that were extremely terrifying and powerful. They were not much weaker than the 10 ultimate maxims. These maxims were known as the king path maxims. This king did not mean the king of martial kings but the king of laws. The king amongst the myriad of laws. Those who controlled the king path laws were called king physiques. Those who mastered the 10 ultimate maxims were known as the son of heaven. For example, Luo Xiang's control of the laws of speed was a type of king path law. Also Long Chen's law of extremity, the extreme of force, was also a kind of king path law. Phoenix Spirit's law of unperishable flame was also a kind of king path law. Now he had seen another one, the sky illusion law. The sky illusion nomological law could make people fall into an illusion without them knowing. Even if they were attacked in the illusion, their bodies would be injured. It was truly incomparably profound. Lu Ming had cultivated illusions before, but it was much weaker than the sky illusion law. Luo Tianyi's soul power is definitely very powerful. Lu Ming speculated in his heart. Who else wants to come up? Luo Tianyi's voice sounded again. I'll do it. At this moment, Wan Pingyang stood up and landed on the jade steps. He wanted to climb up the pavilion, but his outcome was the same as the fifth prince of the Golden Crow. He spat out blood and retreated. He returned to his seat with a dark expression. Following that, a few more Heaven's favorites went up. Some of them had terrifying cultivation and had actually reached the Great Sage, but it was useless. The result was the same. They all spat out blood and retreated. Luo Tianyi's cultivation was simply unfathomable. Anyone else? Luo Tianyi smiled and looked around. When she saw Lu Ming, she nodded slightly at him. Brother Lu Ming, that sister seems to be interested in you. She's hinting at you. Why don't you go quickly? At the side, Pao Pao mumbled. You have sharp eyes. Lu Ming touched Bubbles' small head and Bubbles immediately revealed a look of enjoyment. However, it's not a bad idea to go up and have a drink. Lu Ming smiled. He stood up and took a step forward, landing on the jade staircase. Everyone's gaze instantly fell on Lu Ming. You're overestimating yourself. Other Supreme Saints can't get on it. You're just a bright saint. And you want to get on? Wan Tianbing seized the opportunity to mock him rudely. You're right. Wait a minute. Let's see how he embarrasses himself. Wan Pingyang continued. The others shook their heads. Lu Ming was a bright saint. How could he possibly step on it? He would probably be blasted down in a few minutes. Lu Ming cast a nonchalant glance at Wan Pingyang and Wan Tianbing. His disdainful voice rang out. You're a piece of trash. Do you think everyone else is like you? Who are you calling trash? Wan Pingyang's eyes flashed with a cold glint. It's whoever answered. Lu Ming said. You're just trying to win with your words. Let's see how you're going to step on it. Wan Pingyang's face darkened. Then open your dog eyes wide and watch. Lu Ming smiled and stepped forward. Lu Ming advanced step by step at a steady pace. Very soon, he was halfway up the jade staircase. However, he did not slow down and continued to move forward at the same speed. Many people's expressions changed. Wan Pingyang's expression also changed. Lu Ming continued to move upwards and was close to the pavilion. Nothing happened. How could this be? Luo Tianyi didn't even make a move. Did Luo Tianyi deliberately let him go up? Impossible. Someone shouted, finding it hard to accept. He deliberately let Lu Ming go up. What did this mean? Could it be that Luo Tianyi had taken a fancy to Lu Ming? However, so many stronger geniuses had been blasted down by Luo Tianyi. Would Luo Tianyi be interested in Lu Ming? However, the truth was right in front of their eyes. Lu Ming walked up step by step. Every step he took seemed to be stepping on the hearts of those geniuses. Huang Ling and Long Chen smiled faintly. Why would Luo Tianyi stop Lu Ming if he wanted to go up? Bang! In the end, Lu Ming took a step onto the pavilion. Many people's hearts slapped a beat. Young Master Lu, please take a seat. Luo Tianyi's face showed a bright smile, and her clear voice rang out, which stunned many people. A bowtie's invitation, it's not beautiful. Lu Ming smiled and sat down on a stool that was next to Luo Tian's. Their bodies were almost leaning against each other. Then Luo Tianyi poured a cup of tea for Lu Ming. Lu Ming picked it up, took a deep breath and exclaimed, "It smells so good." He didn't know if it was the fragrance of tea or the fragrance of people. However, the eyes of the young geniuses below the stage were red with envy. Lu Ming, what right do you have to sit on top? Get down. Wan Pingyang roared. He was filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred. He wished that the person he was looking for was him. He could not figure out why Luo Tianyi did not attack Lu Ming. Could it be that she had taken a fancy to Lu Ming? At the thought of this, he was so angry that he went crazy, and the fire of jealousy burned. Whether I'm qualified or not, is it something you can say? Lu Ming cast a casual glance at Wan Pingyang, then turned to Luo Tianyi and said, "The fairy is so beautiful. Even Lu Ming's heart can't help but palpitate." With that, Lu Ming slowly leaned toward Luo Tian. Young master is too kind. Luo Tianyi was still smiling, as if she was not angry at all. Lu Ming smiled. Then, under the angry gaze of the crowd, he picked up the cup that Luo Tianyi had drunk from, and finished it in one gulp. The tea that fairy has drunk is so fragrant, haha. Lu Ming laughed heartily. This action was already very frivolous. It was equivalent to flirting with Luo Tianyi in front of everyone. Many people thought that Luo Tianyi would fly into a rage, but the result surprised them. Luo Tianyi was still smiling as if she didn't mind at all. She said, "Young master, if you don't mind, you can always come and drink tea with me." Next, many people were roaring in their hearts. What was going on? Could it be that Luo Tianyi had really taken a fancy to Lu Ming? Or did Lu Ming already have an affair with Luo Tianyi? When they thought of these 2 points, many people felt terrible. Some of them were even roaring in their hearts. Why wasn't this person me? Even the other 9 saintesses of the Jade Lake were stunned. Based on their understanding of Luo Tianyi, if anyone dared to do that to her, they would be crippled immediately. There was no second outcome. But now, Luo Tianyi did not seem to be angry at all. Chapter 1787. Chapter 1787. The Great Battle with Wan Pingyang Lu Ming. You're presumptuous. How dare you disrespect the Tianyi Saintess? You're courting death. Oh, cripple you! Wan Pingyang roared. In addition, the eyes of the 5th Golden Crow Prince and the others were also very cold. Shut up, Saintess Tian, you didn't even say anything and you jumped out. Aren't you embarrassed? Lu Ming berated. Wan Pingyang looked at Luo Tianyi and realized that she had no reaction at all. He then looked at Lu Ming, his face flushed red. Yes, Luo Tianyi didn't say anything, which meant that she had admitted it. It was really embarrassing for him to jump out like this. Lu Ming, get down here. Who do you think you are? You're a bright saint from the Tsang region. You're not even an emperor-ranked force. What right do you have to sit next to the Luo Tian Saintess? Tian Pingyang shouted. Oh, you're BOM into a noble family and a big force. But you're born in a big force and your cultivation is so low. You're really a piece of trash. Aren't you ashamed? Lu Ming retorted sarcastically. What did you just say? Lu Ming, you stubborn turtle. I want to challenge you. Do you dare to accept my challenge? I'd like to see who's the real trash. Wan Pingyang bellowed, wishing he could cut Lu Ming into pieces. Today, he wanted to humiliate Lu Ming to wash away his shame. Alright, I'll give you this chance, Lu Ming said coldly. He then looked at Luo Tianyi and said, Saintess Tianyi, can we make a move here? Of course you can. Since everyone is in such a good mood, I'll open the fighting ring and let everyone have a good fight. Luo Tianyi smiled and nodded to the other 9 saintesses. The 9 saintesses accepted the order and moved to an open space. With a wave of their hands, the ground emitted a radiance, and a fighting ring appeared. There are many battle platforms built in the Jade Pool for our disciples to spar. You can go up there and fight, Luo Tianyi said. No one was surprised. In fact, many major forces had built such a battle platform. It was usually hidden by a formation. If there was a battle, it could be opened at any time. It was very convenient. If you want to fight, I'll accompany you. Saintess Tianyi, please pour me a cup of tea. I'll be back to accompany you soon. Lu Ming stood up and said. Then, he took a step forward and landed on the fighting ring. Wan Pingyang gritted his teeth. Lu Ming was too arrogant. Did he mean that he could defeat him before the tea turned cold? What a joke. He was a great saint. Moreover, he was not an ordinary great saint. He was a peerless genius with powerful combat strength. Even if Lu Ming could fight an ordinary great saint, he could not be his opponent. You don't need to do anything to deal with a mere Lu Ming. I'll suppress him. Wan Tianbing stood up and glared at Lu Ming with a sharp gaze. Alright, I'll leave it to you. Wan Pingyang's eyes turned. If Wan Tianbing could defeat Lu Ming, he would be able to humiliate Lu Ming even more. Why not? Wan Tianbing took a step forward and came to the fighting ring. Last time, you were defeated even when you joined forces with someone. If it wasn't for the old dog of the Wan family saving you, you would have already died. You still dare to fight? Lu Ming said in disdain. I've said it before. I was careless last time. This time I'll kill you. Die. Wan Tianbing shouted coldly. His body began to glow, and holy weapons flew out and floated around him. Among them, there was a particularly bright spot. A combat sword flew out from it, and a terrifying sword chi rushed into the sky. It's an absolute saint weapon, someone exclaimed. The corners of Lu Ming's lips curled up slightly. It turned out that the other party had sealed another absolute saint weapon, and it was even more stable than the last time. No wonder he dared to fight Lu Ming. Lu Ming had almost lost to his holy weapon the last time. Kill. The chi of combat weapons gathered, and sword chi soared into the sky. The 10,000 celestial soldiers wielded their combat swords and slashed at Lu Ming. The power was shocking, and those below the Supreme Saint realm were shocked. The 10,000 weapons manual was indeed amazing. As long as one's body and cultivation were strong enough, one could seal powerful holy weapons continuously. Ordinary Supreme Saints wouldn't dare to use this move. But Lu Ming was not just anyone. "I'll be taking this absolute saint weapon," Lu Ming muttered. In the next moment, he rushed towards his opponent and slashed his palm at him like a knife. Lu Ming attacked his opponent's absolute holy weapon with his bare hands. But the result was beyond everyone's expectations. Clang! Lu Ming's palm hit the combat sword, which trembled wildly. A terrifying force surged toward Wan Tianbing. In an instant, Wan Tianbing's expression changed, and his eyes popped out in disbelief. He felt a terrifying power coming from the combat sword that seemed to be endless. Buzz! The sword vibrated, and his palm exploded. The sword flew out of his hand, while his body was thrown far away like a broken kite. He fell on the fighting ring and spat out blood. His face was as pale as paper. With a wave of his hand, Lu Ming's saint energy rolled up, and he put away the absolute saint weapon. Many people at the scene gasped and looked at Lu Ming in shock. He was defeated. 10,000 heavenly soldiers were defeated in one move. They couldn't even withstand a single blow. Many people still remembered that a few months ago, Lu Ming, Wan Tianbing, and the sixth prince of the Golden Crow had a battle at the Phoenix Lake. In that battle, Lu Ming had defeated Wan Tianbing and the sixth prince of the Golden Crow with great difficulty. He was even forced into a disadvantageous position after Wan Tianbing had taken out his holy weapon. But now, Lu Ming had made Wan Tianbing spit out blood and sent him flying out of the arena with one move. He had even seized his absolute saint weapon. In just a few months, Lu Ming's combat strength had become so terrifying. Hand over the absolute saint weapon. Wan Pingyang stood up and stepped onto the fighting ring. His eyes were extremely gloomy. "What a joke. That's my spoils of war. Do you have an absolute saint weapon? Take it out. I'll be my spoils later," Lu Ming said. "If you want my absolute saint weapon, I'm afraid you'll lose your life." "Kill!" Wan Pingyang roared. His entire body began to glow with bright light as saint weapons flew out one after another, their battle weapon chi soaring into the sky. There were 150 bright saint weapons, 12 great saint weapons, and an absolute saint weapon. The absolute saint weapon was a long spear. Wan Pingyang held the long spear in his hand, and his aura became even more terrifying. Whoosh! The long spear pierced through the air, aiming for Lu Ming. Wan Pingyang was a great saint in the minor mastery realm. When he was sealed into a saint weapon, the power he could unleash was even more terrifying. It was far beyond the power of a 10,000 celestial weapon. His combat strength was several times stronger than Wan Tianbing's. Bang! Lu Ming took a step forward. His body was like lightning as he charged towards Wan Pingyang. His palm was like a blade as he struck at his opponent. Clang! Lu Ming's palm collided with his opponent's spear, creating a deafening boom. Both of them swayed slightly before they continued their battle. The Great Saint Realm was much stronger than the Bright Saint Realm. Moreover, the opponent's spiritual body was also a medium-grade heaven spiritual body. His combat power was extremely terrifying, far beyond the ordinary Great Saint lower mastery. Thump! Boom! In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming and Wan Pingyang had exchanged dozens of blows. The entire place was filled with intense explosions, causing the entire area to shake. Chapter 1788. Chapter 1788. Chapter 1788. Take them all. The others were shocked. Lu Ming's combat strength had exceeded their imagination. How can he be so powerful? A few months ago, Lu Ming was far from having such combat strength. His cultivation level has increased, and he has reached the great circle of the Bright Saint stage. How can it be so fast? He was only a great circle of the bright saint stage a few months ago. Feng Ling and Long Chen's cultivation has also improved a lot. I heard that a few months ago, the paragons who obtained the Primordial Chaos token entered the Primordial Chaos sect to take part in the assessment. Perhaps Lu Ming, Feng Ling, and Long Chen have all obtained the Primordial Chaos token. Hunyuan sect's assessment has great opportunities. Perhaps that's true. The crowd discussed and soon, someone made a rough guess. After all, the Hunyuan sect's assessment was no secret. Every few decades, a group of geniuses would enter and take part in the assessment. It was easy to associate this with the sect. However, Lu Ming's combat strength was still shocking. He was a sacred saint, and his opponent was also a peerless genius. Thump. Boom. Lu Ming collided with the other party dozens of times, and then retreated quickly. Lose. Wan Pingyang roared. You're thinking too much, Feng. Lu Ming muttered. Following that, dense runes suddenly appeared on the long spear in Wan Pingyang's hand. They flowed along the long spear and rapidly spread throughout Wan Pingyang's body. They formed a terrifying sealing force that was about to seal Wan Pingyang. Damn it, what is this? Wan Pingyang bellowed in rage and unleashed his full power in an attempt to break the seal. However, he had exchanged so many blows with Lu Ming earlier and had laid down a terrifying sealing power. With all of them erupting at once, how could he break it in one go? Lu Ming took a step forward, and his figure was like lightning. He appeared in front of Wan Pingyang in an instant, and threw a punch at Wan Pingyang. Wan Pingyang cried out in pain, and her body flew far away. A series of crackling sounds came from her body as her bone armor was shattered. Devour! Lu Ming unleashed his devouring power, and enveloped all of Wan Pingyang's saint weapons, so that Wan Pingyang could not take them back. Then, he used his saint energy to cut off the other party's connection, and put away all the saint weapons. My holy weapon! Wan Pingyang roared and spat out a few more mouthfuls of blood. 150 bright saint weapons, 12 great saint weapons, and 1 absolute saint weapon all fell in Lu Ming's hands. His heart was bleeding. The Wan clan's cultivation had a flaw, and that was the expenditure. The value of sealing so many saint weapons was simply too high. This was his many years of hard work. Now it was all gone, and Lu Ming had taken it. I said, this is my spoils of war. Lu Ming took a step forward and appeared beside Wan Pingyang. He looked down at the other party and said coldly, so what if you have a high cultivation level? You. Wan Pingyang was so angry that he almost vomited blood. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he glared at Lu Ming. Lu Ming, the Wan family will never let you off. You'd better return all my saint weapons. You can't swallow the Wan family's saint weapons. Ha ha ha, what a joke. You're a piece of trash. You're a great saint, but you're not a match for a bright saint. Now you're threatening me with the power behind you. If you didn't come from a powerful force, you would be a complete waste. I can kill a large number of you with a single slap. Get lost. Lu Ming laughed heartily. He gave Wan Pingyang one last kick on the head, sending him flying off the fighting ring. Lu Ming, just you wait. On the other side, Wan Tianlong rushed over and helped Wan Pingyang up. They flew up into the sky and left the place. Wan Tianbing did the same. He had no face to stay. Who else wants to fight? Lu Ming's eyes were like lightning as he scanned the entire scene, especially the Golden Crow race's side. The 5th Golden Crow Prince and the 6th Golden Crow Prince's faces were unsightly. However, Lu Ming's combat strength was unfathomable. He did not seem to have used his full strength against Wan Pingyang. At least, he did not see Lu Ming use any Chaos Law Abijna. Although the 5th Prince of the Golden Crow was arrogant, he was not confident that he could fight Lu Ming. He might even humiliate himself. It was not that there were no more powerful Heaven's favorites at the scene. However, they did not have any grudges with Lu Ming, and did not want to offend him, a Heaven's favorite with endless potential. Therefore, no one went up to fight for a while. Since no one wants to fight, let's continue drinking tea. Lu Ming smiled. He took a step forward and returned to the pavilion. He picked up his teacup and said with a smile, it doesn't look like it's too late, and the tea is still hot. With that, he downed the drink. Although Lu Ming had fought 2 rounds in a row, He was very fast and did not waste much time. Young Master Lu, if you like it, you can come to the Jade Lake more often in the future. There's plenty of tea, Luo Tianyi said with a smile. How can I not come when a beauty has invited me? Lu Ming said. The others could only sigh. They were certain that Luo Tianyi had taken a fancy to Lu Ming. Below, an unnatural expression flashed across Huang Ling's face. Sister Feng Ling is jealous, Paoba muttered. You, little girl, you're spouting nonsense. Huang Ling's face was flushed red as she picked up Pao Pao's chubby body and rubbed it hard. Lu Ming enjoyed the tea party, while the others drank it as if it was plain water. Not long after, some people found excuses to leave. Some people took the lead, and more people left one after another. Not long after, only Lu Ming and a few people were left at the scene. Tianyi Saintus, I'll visit you another day. Farewell. Lu Ming cupped his fists. Young sect master, you should come to the Jade Lake more often. Luo Tianyi smiled and sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded and left the Jade Pool with Long Chen, Feng Ling, and the rest. Back in the Phoenix Palace, Lu Ming continued his closed-door cultivation. In the mountain and river diagram, Lu Ming took out a combat sword, intending to seal it. This sword was the absolute saint weapon that he had taken from Wan Tianbing. Lu Ming now had a total of 3 absolute saint weapons: a battle axe, a battle sword, and a long spear. 2 of them were taken from the 10,000 celestial soldier, and the last one was from Wan Pingyang. Other than the long spear, Lu Ming was more comfortable with the combat sword. He planned to seal this combat sword first. When the 10,000 celestial soldiers were at the great circle of the Bright Saint stage, they would need the help of a martial emperor to seal them into holy weapons. However, Lu Ming's spirit body was stronger. Lu was confident that he would be able to seal them successfully without the help of a martial emperor. Lu Ming immediately activated the 10,000 soldier scroll and began to seal the one lowly weapon. One of the acupuncture points on his arm lit up, and the absolute saint weapon flew into it. Instantly, a terrifying tearing force erupted. The absolute saint weapon was too powerful. Lu Ming's arm swelled up and almost exploded. Waves of tearing pain spread throughout his body. Hold on! Lu Ming growled and circulated the 10,000 soldiers' art with all his might, enduring the pain. Slowly, the battle weapon chi of the absolute holy weapon calmed down, and Lu Ming's arm returned to its original state. A few hours later, Lu Ming ended his cultivation. He had finally succeeded. Lu Ming heaved a long sigh of relief. It was too dangerous to seal a holy weapon. If one wasn't careful, their meridians would explode, and their bodies would explode. However, once the seal was successful, the power of the 10,000 soldiers scroll would increase dramatically. Now, Lu Ming's 10,000 weapon scroll and holy weapon were as powerful as the chaotic finger of calamity. Chapter 1789. Chapter 1789. Meeting Xuaningxin again. I should be able to seal a few more great saint weapons. Lu Ming pondered. It was impossible for him to continue to seal it into a saint weapon. His body couldn't take it anymore. He had to at least break through to the supreme saint realm, or evolve his spirit body again. However, he should be able to seal a few more great saint weapons. This way, he would be able to increase his strength. Following that, Lu Ming sealed another 6 great saint weapons. The number of great saint weapons he had sealed increased to 12, which was the same as Wan Pingyang's. After cultivating the 10,000 soldier scroll, Lu Ming continued to study the Chaos Finger Tribulation and the sealed scroll of the 9 scrolls of Array Dao. Time flew by, and another 2 months passed. Lu Ming's cultivation had entered a period of steady improvement and was slowly approaching the Great Sage Realm. And during this period of time, Guyu Holy Land entered a period of peace. Many of the heaven's favorites from the Heavenly Emperor City had returned. However, they were all actively preparing for the battle. They worked hard to cultivate and wait for the opening of the Yuan Mountain Sacred Institute. The few emperors would establish the Yuan Mountain Saint Academy. At that time, all the geniuses of the Yuan Mountain would definitely gather in the Heavenly Emperor City. The Heavenly Emperor City would become a place for the geniuses to fight for supremacy. If one's cultivation and combat strength were not enough, they would only become a stepping stone for others. Therefore, all of them were cultivating hard. On this day, Huang Ling and Long Chun came together to ask Lu Ming to go to the 10,000 Spirit Trade City with them. The 10,000 Spirit Trading City was very famous in the ancient Moon Holy Land. It was founded by a few powerful forces, and one of them was the Wan family. Within the 10,000 Spirit Trade City, there were many shops. All kinds of treasures and rare items could be seen. After many years of development, it had become extremely prosperous. It had become the two largest trading places in the ancient Moon Holy Land. Every day it was packed with people. Lu Ming was naturally curious about such a place, and he agreed readily. He wanted to take a look and see if he could buy some useful items. He also wanted to sell some of the useless things he had on him in exchange for raw gemstones. Lu Ming brought bubbles with him, and the group of them flew in the air. Not long after, a huge city appeared in front of them. This city was very large, and one could see people coming out of the city continuously, and people going in and out continuously. They landed at the city gate, which was guarded. If they wanted to enter the city, they had to pay a certain amount of raw stones. The few of them paid the fees and walked into the city. As soon as they entered the city, all they could see were shops. There were all kinds of shops, and there was no end to them. Those forces that founded the trade city are really making a fortune. There's a fee to enter the city, and there's a fee to rent out these shops. How many raw gemstones do they earn every year? Lu Ming sighed. No wonder the Wan family was so rich. Every disciple had a large number of saint weapons to cultivate the 10,000 soldier scroll. The Wan family had developed for countless years and had many disciples. With so many people cultivating the 10,000 soldier scroll, the number of holy weapons they needed was a terrifying number. This was nothing, especially for the monarch-level experts. They needed monarch weapons for their cultivation, which was even more expensive. Without income, they couldn't afford to cultivate at all. The few of them walked around the streets, looking for the things they needed. Lu Ming had also entered a few shops and exchanged all his useless items for high-grade raw gemstones. When one reached the Saint Realm, one would almost always use superior-grade raw stones for cultivation. Lu Ming only kept a small amount of the bright saint weapon on him. He sold most of it in exchange for a lot of spiritual liquid to water the path understanding ancient tree. He also bought some spiritual herbs for Paisha to eat. Suddenly, they saw many people gathering in one direction. A few of them were curious and followed them. They found many people rushing into a hall. "Brother, why are there so many people running here?" Lu Ming and the rest stopped a young man and asked. "This hall is a place to sell slaves. There are all kinds of slaves, human race and demon race. One just heard that they are selling a true dragon, a peerless beauty. This is extremely rare. Brother, one have to go, or it will be too late." The young man said as he hurried forward. "True dragon? A beauty?" Lu Ming frowned slightly. "Let's go and take a look," Lu Ming said to Long Chun and Feng Ling. Then, the three of them walked toward the main hall. The main hall was very wide, but it was already filled with people. The three of them squeezed through the crowd and looked ahead. At the very front of the hall, there was a high platform, which was the place where the slaves were sold. At this moment, an extremely beautiful woman was sitting on the high platform. This woman's neck, wrists, and ankles were all wearing something that looked like a collar. There were runes shining on it, which clearly could seal one's cultivation. The woman looked haggard and her aura was weak. Her snow-white dress was torn in many places, revealing many wounds that seemed to have been caused by the leather whip. It could be seen that he had definitely been tortured. Although she was injured and her aura was weak, it was still difficult to hide her beautiful figure and appearance. Boom! Lu Ming's mind buzzed at the sight of this woman. A cold and terrifying killing intent emanated from his body. Senior sister. Lu Ming's killing intent was extremely terrifying. It surged in all directions like a tide. The woman on the platform was Lu Ming's senior sister, Xuaningxin. In the surroundings, the others felt a chill all over their bodies and couldn't help but retreat. "Lu Ming, what's wrong?" At the side, Huang Ling was surprised. Why did Lu Ming suddenly burst out with such a terrifying killing intent? The one on the high platform is my senior sister. Lu Ming growled in a low voice, his eyes emitting a terrifying ominous glint. Your senior sister? Phoenix spirit. Long Chen's heart skipped a beat. Fei finally understood why Lu Ming had such a murderous intent. At that moment, on the high platform, beside Xuaningxin, two elders had also noticed Lu Ming's abnormality. A shocking aura erupted from their bodies. It was the aura of a great saint. Thousand spirit exchange. Whoever causes trouble will be killed. Old man coldly said. Moreover, there were terrifying auras around the hall. There were many powerful auras that made one's heart tremble. This place was jointly established by the Wan family, the Heavenly Bird Palace, and the Heavenly Wolf Tower, so they naturally sent many experts to guard it. Lu Ming, don't be rash. The four major forces have sent many experts here. Huang Ling sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded. He suppressed the killing intent in his heart and his body. On the high platform, Xuaningxin seemed to have sensed Lu Ming's killing intent as well. She raised her head and looked over. When she saw Lu Ming, surprise and hope flashed in her eyes. However, the light soon dimmed, and she shook her head at Lu Ming. What she meant was for Lu Ming to leave, and not save her. Senior sister, don't worry. I'll save you. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Xuaningxin. His voice was firm and unquestionable. Xuaningxin continued to shake her head. The forces here were too powerful. They were many times stronger than the so-called top forces in the Azure region. She did not wish for Lu Ming to offend these powerful forces in order to save her. However, Lu Ming's gaze was firm and unquestionable. He had to save Xuaningxin. Whoever stopped him would die. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.